Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. During a declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching it on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants are automatically muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members are participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. For all those who are waiting online, please ensure that you have called in with the phone number that you originally registered with. If you call in with a different number, you will not be able to speak on the item. To ensure audio clarity, I suggest that you do not use the speakerphone function on your telephone. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Alan Smithies, and I will chair today's meeting. Joining us on the panel today are Ron Hunt, Asif Khan, Paul Kidd, and Nadini Sankar Peralta. City staff are also present: Daniel Antonacci, Brendan Clapp, and Jenny Kotas. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone attending today who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, it may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if desired. If the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak on the item. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5-minute limit. When addressing the committee, please state clearly your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters described in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and will make their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. To ensure that a revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes, the committee may decide to defer the application if it has been substantially revised. Then individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, are invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This marks the end of discussion on the item. The application is then taken into committee for a decision. Members of the committee, I forgot that we had minutes of the 27th of November 2010 meeting to adopt. We didn't do it this morning. So if I could have a motion to adopt the minutes of the 27th of November 2020 meeting. Thank you. Ms. Sankar?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll motion to adopt those minutes.
Thank you. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Those minutes are adopted. Are there any committee members here this afternoon who have a conflict of interest they'd like to declare? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Items 30, 31, 32, and 33, the 4 items on Rumsey Road, I'm acquainted with the agent.
That's 171 Rumsey Road, right through to 177?
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd. Any other conflicts? There being none, okay, thank you. We have no files to close. We'll proceed to our first item on this afternoon's agenda. We have 599 Castlefield Avenue. I have 2 persons registered to speak. The first is the agent, Christopher Zianis. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Christopher Zianis, 41 Yorkshire Road.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, there was a city planning report dated the 4th of January 2021 that indicates that they appear to have no objections, provided that the property is developed substantially in accordance with the site plan and west side elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, attached as attachments 1 and 2 to this report. Have you had the opportunity to read that report, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. If you could, we have one other person registered to speak on this item. If you could give us a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Sure. So our proposal is for a 2-story single-family dwelling with integral garage, in which we are seeking 9 minor variances based on the past approvals in the neighborhood. We believe that the variances for FSI, side yard setbacks, height are minor in nature and are in keeping with the development of the neighborhood. With regards to items 6, 7, and 8, for the building length, depth, rear yard setback, these bylaws only apply to the below-grade storage room under the rear deck. The house itself falls within the parameters of the length and depth, and the covered deck meets the requirements for the permitted encroachments, as defined in the bylaw under 10.5.40.60. For this reason, we believe these variances are also minor in nature. I believe this addresses the owner of 597 Castlefield's concerns, as stated in their letter of objection. And I think this also addresses the staff report by planning and their request to tie it to the site plan as well as the side elevation. My assumption is that they want to tie the length and depth to the house itself and not allow the covered porch in the back to be enclosed at some point.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll move on to the next speaker on our list. I have Nick Perriton registered to speak. Are you there, sir? Mr. Perriton, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Nick Perriton. My address is 599 Castlefield Avenue.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, my name is Nick Perriton. And so I own and reside immediately next door to the applicant property. So we are on the east side at 599, like I just said. Well, first, I want to thank you for your time and giving me a chance to voice my concerns. I also want to be clear here that I do welcome the redevelopment of the property. For those not aware, this property has been vacant for nearly 10 years. And it's been home to raccoons, squirrels, and skunks living next door to us. So, you know, this is definitely a positive for us. And I don't want you to think that this is a, you know, no pun intended, not in my backyard kind of objection. We want this to be redeveloped. So we welcome the applicant. In that context, as you just heard, I mean, I think there's a total number of 9 variances that are being sought. You know, I only became aware of these about 10 days ago, I think, when we received a letter in the mail. So the applicant did not attempt to reach us or contact us. So I haven't had a chance to discuss these or voice my concerns or ask any questions. So look, I mean, with having said that, I'm not surprised by the number of variances here. Like, land is expensive, and I don't blame the developer or the applicant here for trying to maximize the size of the house. That said, as you've heard, the proposed length here is that's being sought is 20.4 meters. That is 3.4 meters more than the maximum, just like the staffing report flagged. It is correct that the 3.4 meters excess applies to the covered patio, but that covered patio is going to be a full story high, which from what I could tell is about 13 feet high. And, it's going to extend about 3.4 meters, in the backyard. And so you can imagine it's going to have a significant impact on our own backyard. On a personal note, like, our son was born last November. He's only 2 months old. We haven't been outside with him yet in the backyard, but I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time there this coming summer. And you can imagine that having this one-story structure, again, it's not 2 stories, but it's 1 story that's going to go almost halfway back into the backyard is going to really impact us. We planted a cedar hedge along the fence there last year. And, the northern half portion of that hedge is not going to survive if this covered patio, which, let me, I want to make it clear, there's no other backyard on our street that has this type of covered patio. So this is unheard of to have a covered patio of a case like this. I think the intention here, just for everyone's reference, immediately south of our backyards is a high-rise multifamily dwelling. It's not very sightly. And so I can imagine here that the applicant is looking to hide the view of that apartment building by covering the patio, such as is the case. But, the picture here is, that's a west-facing view, I think, of the backyard. On my side, you can see how there's a fireplace. I think that's going to be in there as well. And that's, yeah, there you go. That's exactly it. So you can see how from our kitchen, because we're really just, before this house here, it's really going to have a negative impact on the sunlight and our view and just our ability to enjoy our own backyard. I reject the notion that this is a minor variance. We're talking a 20% departure from the bylaw. It's completely optional to the redevelopment here. Again, like, I'm not objecting to that house, but, to try to extend, to push back the covered patio like this by 3.4 meters, I mean, that's just unreasonable. And then, like I said, it's just not consistent with the depth and length of any of the neighboring homes. So, look, on this note, I just respectfully ask for your help here in addressing this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the Mr. Zianis. Sir, you've heard the previous speaker. You have the opportunity to address his comments.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the covered deck itself falls within the bylaws and the exemptions within the bylaws for its size and its encroachment into the rear yard setback. The bylaws, the items 6, 7, and 8, pretty much only come into play because of the unexcavated portion in the basement below the covered deck, which we're proposing as extra storage space for a small home.
Okay, thank you. Then how do you justify the building length then?
Well, the building length itself, the house is 17 meters from front main wall to rear main wall. The covered deck has no main walls, so its length and width are not, counted as the length and depth. They're only counted as the length and depth because of the excavated portion underneath the deck.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on the app? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kidd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just so I'm clear on that, are you saying that you could build the deck as a right If it didn't have a foundation?
Correct.
Thank you.
If it didn't have an unexcavated area in the foundation, it can have a foundation, just,
No, but yeah, if there wasn't a basement area underneath it.
that's
yeah.
correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of the speaker? There being none, thank you. Can I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the proposal meets the intent of the zoning bylaws, and the requested variances are of a minor nature. I'd like to put forward a motion to approve the application, subject to the condition that the property be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan on the west side elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, attachment 1 and 2 to the staff report dated January the 4th, 2021.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kidd. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 20, 528 Millwood Road. I have one person registered to speak. That is a Suda Salahan. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Are you there?
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. I am.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Sude. Last name is Salehin. My address is 43 Apple Orchard Path.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask, there are two reports we have from staff here, one from city planning dated the 4th of January. They indicate that they have no objection to your application, provided that variance number 1 for the proposed front yard setback applies only to the one-story front porch enclosure, and Transportation Services in their report of the 19th of January indicates that they have no objection, provided that the applicant reduces the width of the parking pad to a maximum of 2.2 meters, obtains a front yard parking permit, and adds a notation on the site plan stating that all portions of existing site drawings that are no longer required will be closed and restored with soft landscaping to satisfaction of Transportation Services. Have you had the opportunity to read those reports?
Yes, we have, sir.
Okay, I think what you have two variances before the committee. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or would like a presentation. Madam, is there anything that you would like to add to the material that the committee has before it?
Not really. If there are no questions, I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that in review of this application, it does meet the 4 tests. So I'll put a motion forward to approve this application. I'll make it subject to the January 4th staff report, in that variance number 1 for the proposed front yard setback apply only to the one-story front porch closure. And I'll also tie it to the transportation report and recommendations of January 19, 2021. I wouldn't read that because you both have done so, and that's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Khan seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Madam, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to Transportation Services and city planning conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Item number 21, 399 Cranbrook Avenue. I have 3 people registered to speak. Is the agent there, Mr. Glenn Rubinoff? Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Yes, hi, Mr. Rubinoff. There's a report from city planning dated the 4th of January, which indicates that they appear to have no objection to your application, provided that the property is developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing submitted to the committee and attached as attachment number 1 to their report. Have you had the opportunity to read that, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
I
thank
support.
you, sir. We have 2 other persons registered to speak on this, sir, so if you could perhaps give us a presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Sure, thank you.
you.
Yes, good afternoon, committee members. This is an application for a new house at 399 Cranbrook Avenue. We've done other homes on this street. We did our research. We had a look at what's being built, the topography of the site and such. We did meet with planning and make some adjustments to the footprint, and the planning staff are in support of this application. Basically, the variances are related to side yard setbacks. One of the setbacks is 0.9, but if you look at the site plan, you'll see that that's only for a small portion on one side. The majority of the house is set at 1.5 meters. The lot itself is not compliant with the lot requirements for the area, which is 50 feet. This is a 45-foot lot, so our lot setbacks we've adjusted accordingly. We also have variance for height. There's a profile I think they can the planner can put up on there. So the street kind of rises from one side to the other. So it's kind of a hilly area along the street, and some of the variances are related to the change from the street. As you can see, the lower side on the left, and it rises up. But the variances are under the old bylaw. There's a overall height variance, but under the new bylaw, we do comply with the overall height. The other, I don't believe we even have oh yeah, we do have a side side height wall height variance on the side lot. But it's the style of the home and that. And if you can see here, the street gradually rises. We obviously have to set our house where it is on there. With regards to the neighborhood, we've looked at the lot coverages in the area when we went forward with this, and found comparables, similar size, some bigger, some smaller. But we feel that it does fit in. The actual house length is 52 foot 8 inches, so it's not an oversized by any means. The permitted length is 55 feet. We have adequate rear yard, front yard, and I believe that proportionally that it does suit the property. And staff's comments, the only comment they had was that the side yard setback, the 0.9, applies only to a small portion of the proposed building. And that's why they were requesting that it be tied to the site plan. But I feel that this development, this house fits into the character of the redevelopment in the neighborhood. There are new homes on the street directly across the road, a few doors down, and of course in the adjacent blocks. And it's this area has gone through an extensive redevelopment, and we feel that what we're proposing fits in with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Ms. Sankar?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Rubinoff, thank you for your presentation. I'm looking at this application, and you've already given a bit of an explanation for variance number 1, because the west side yard setback really had me concerned. You said that that's for a specific portion. I accept that. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about variance number 6, which is the lot coverage. I know you've given a bit of some explanation. You've also provided on the file about 10 homes within the area that have a sizable lot coverage as such. However, when I look at that in comparison to the grand scheme of the area, that's a very minute percentage. So it really doesn't give me the flavor of the character of that neighborhood. Can you speak to those 2 items, please, to help me with my decision?
Yes, of course. one of the things about the area is there's different lot sizes in the area. So of course, with a larger lot, you know, if you put a similar size home on a larger lot, the coverage is going to be a little bit less. And I wouldn't say that this is an overbuilt, because we are respecting the length. We are respecting the side yard for the most part, you know, other than the garage and the portion at the front. But generally, you know, the property on the right is a 18.35 meters. The house on the left is a 16.76 meters. You know, we're 13.66. So I'm just saying that the house itself, in comparison to adjacent lots and adjacent houses in the area, if it was on a regular 50-foot lot, the coverage would be less. It would be more in keeping. We are mindful of the fact that, you know, a smaller lot, smaller house. I know I've heard that argument, and I agree with it generally. I just feel that the impact of this house is not great in the sense that we're not projecting further back beyond, you know, the house at 397, and we're kind of set ourselves in between 407 and 397 in terms of our front yard. Our side yards, it just happens to fall within that coverage due to the depth of the lot, I would say, because the lot is only 109, almost 110 feet deep. And many of the lots in the area are 115 or even 120. So it's a number, and I know percentages sometimes look worse than they are, but this house is, you know, it's still smaller than a lot of the redeveloped homes in the area. It just happens to be that the lot is undersized, and as it's undersized, if we apply the standards of what we're trying to do, we end up with more coverage than that. But we did look at comparables, and I think you'll find that sometimes those comparables are for the lots which are a little bit smaller. We normally wouldn't even go, you know, beyond 35-36% on a regular 50-foot lot, but in this case, just to make the layout work the way we want it to work, just for, you know, a regular type of house, we found that it's, you know, that asking for a little more coverage makes it work nicely. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rubinoff. Any further questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll move to the next deputant on our list. I have a Shrikesh Desai. Are you there? Shrikesh Desai, are you there? Okay, all right. Well, we'll go to the next person on the list. I have a Mark Kestenberg. Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Kestenberg. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, it's Mark Kestenberg, and my address is 450 Woburn Avenue. I'm the immediate backdoor neighbor to the applicant.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Thank you. And first of all, I very much appreciate the ability to make these submissions by this format, not only due to the present circumstances, but it's incredibly convenient for people that are working full time. So I appreciate this. I also welcome the development of the neighborhood, and I appreciated Mr. Rubinoff's submissions. The variances, this is not my area of expertise. They seem relatively minor to me. My concern is that collectively they may or may not be minor, and I obviously defer to the panel on that point. I did hear Mr. Rubinoff make submissions that they're not pushing the property back, and the rear yard setback is sort of consistent with the neighborhood. That's great. My only concern is that there are two beautiful mature pine trees at the rear of the lot. They are, you know, one of them is probably 30 feet tall, the other one's 50 feet tall, and they offer privacy and all the beautiful things that mature and healthy trees do. And my only concern is, and I'm wondering if I can just ask Mr. Rubinoff whether or not the plan is to have those mature trees stand at the end of the construction. And if it's the case that the trees will be there, then I have no objection whatsoever to the development.
Okay, so well, I will ask Mr. Rubinoff when we come back. Do you have any other further comments on the application?
No, I don't, and thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Being none, we'll go back to the agent. Mr. Rubinoff, you heard the comments from Mr. Kestenberg. It seems they relate predominantly to a tree issue.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
just comment on that?
Yeah, I see the trees in the backyard, and our intention is to keep them. There's no reason for them to be removed. What we have is a wood deck in the back, and if anything, that can, that would be hand dug if it was anywhere near it. But we intend to keep the trees intact without injury.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
several
sir.
trees.
That's, I'm sure that'll be, Mr. Kestenberg will be happy to hear that. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, can I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The explanations provided by the applicant here today, resonates with me. I feel I can accept them. The trees are a concern, and so this application will be subject to forestry to address the debutante's concerns. So I'll motion to approve this application, and it will be subject to the conditions of the January 4th staff report, that the property be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, subject to forestry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to city planning and urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now on to item number 22, 584 Briar Hill Avenue. I have one person registered to speak. That is the agent, Drew Laszlo. Are you there?
I am indeed. Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Laszlo. We have a city planning report here dated the 4th of January. They appear to indicate that they have no objection to your application, provided that the property is developed substantially in accordance with the site plan and west side elevation drawing submitted to the committee and attached as attachments 1 and 2 to their report. Have you had the opportunity to look at that report, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. It's pretty clear what you're asking for in the 2 variances that we have before us. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments. There being none, sir, is there anything that you'd like to add that the committee doesn't currently have before it?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. If I could get a motion on this application, please. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, it's a straightforward application with minor variances and recommended by the staff that substantially developed in accordance with the site plan west side elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment and attachment 1 and 2 to this report. I move this application be approved with conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Item number 23, 125 Whitburn Crescent. I have one person registered to speak. Valencia Enrique, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yep, it's Enrique Valencia from Valencia Enterprises, 260 Hanlon Road, and I'm representing Jorge Cáceres for 125 Whitburn Crescent.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask if you've seen, we have a report from the 18th of January 2021 from the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. They have no objection to your application. And we just received a letter from Councillor Pasternak dated the 26th of January. He has no objection to your application either. Pretty clear what you're asking for in the 5 variances before us. So I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or would like a presentation. No? Sir, is there anything that you'd like to add that the committee doesn't currently have before us?
I'd just like to add that I did try to speak with the neighbors. Unfortunately, due to the social conditions that we're in right now, it made it a little bit difficult. But the neighbors on the east just, I'm not trying to put words in their mouth or anything like that. They just rather not be involved and not comment on the project.
Okay, thank
I
you.
did, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I do believe that this application meets the 4 tests. I don't have a problem with it. I will motion to approve the application, subject to forestry.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item number 24, 177 Alfred Avenue. I have one person registered to speak. That is Henry Wang. Are you there, sir? Mr. Wang, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Can I get your full
Good
name and
afternoon.
address, please?
It's Henry Wang. I'm the agent.
Okay, can I get
It's
your address, please?
3950 14th Avenue, Markham.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a report from City Planning dated the 16th of December, and they indicate they have no objection provided that the proposal is developed substantially in accordance with the west and east elevation drawings submitted to the committee and attached as attachments 1 and 2 to this report. Have you had the opportunity to read that report, sir?
Yes, I have, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have 2 variances before us, one for main wall height and the other for building height. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or would like a presentation. Being none, sir, is there anything you'd like to add to the file that the committee doesn't have before it today?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. If I could get a motion on this application, please. Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the proposed variances are minor and they meet the 4 tests for minor variance. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to the conditions set out in the planning staff report dated December 16th, that the proposals to be developed substantially in accordance with the west and east elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment and attached to the, as attachments 1 and 2 to the planning report, also subject to forestry conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kidd. Someone to second that? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry and city planning conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now on item number 25, which is 35 WILLOWBANK Boulevard, I have 3 people registered to speak. The agent is Mr. Eric Hayden. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Hayden, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yep, my full name is Eric Hayden. My address is 455 Dovercourt Road, and I am representing 35 WILLOWBANK Boulevard.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a report from Transportation Services dated the 19th of January. They were requesting that you defer the application to submit revised plans showing parking stall dimensions. Now, would you like to defer the application to meet with Transportation Services, or would you like to proceed today?
We would like to proceed.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 other persons registered to speak, sir, so if you could give us what you see as the merits of your proposal, and also you may want to address that Transportation Services comment.
Sure. So what we're proposing, sorry.
Please
so
proceed.
what we're proposing is a rear addition to an existing 2-story detached house. It's for a young family that's hoping to stay and grow in place. And the intent of the design is to minimize the effect it would have on the architecture of the original 1920s era house as viewed from the street and open it up to the backyard. And I would like to note as well that we have revised the plans somewhat from the January 20th drawing submission. This was to address some of the concerns that we were hearing from neighbors and has subsequently removed 3 of the 8 variances that were originally requested. And all of the remaining ones we feel are minor in nature and either have a precedent from what has been done to neighboring houses or are simply the result of pre-existing site conditions. So to address the comment on the parking issue, so the issue right now is that the homeowners park in the front parking pad, and that parking pad meets their needs perfectly fine. It is smaller than what is actually required, which is why we are hoping to seek a variance for that, to make that a legal parking spot. Thank you.
Okay, sir, I just wanted to ask it's technically called a driveway widening, but the area that you park on or your client parks on it doesn't block the mutual right-of-way as I recall from my site visit. Is that correct? When they park the vehicle, they're not blocking the right-of-way.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Okay, I'll move to the next person on the list. I have a Michael Zhang. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yeah, my name is Zheng Sun of 37 WILLOWBANK Boulevard.
Okay, if you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We are against this proposal for the following concerns. First one, variance number 4, the proposed west rear yard. Well, this is the picture about a parking problem. The first, number 4, proposed west rear yard stairs is 0.52 meters from the west lot line, less than the required 0.6. The variance is not minor because this is a very narrow mutual driveway. Please see the photo of driveway. It makes car parking into my garage at rear impossible forever. It deprives our rights to park into the garage. It makes huge loss to our property value. These losses are also irreparable. Therefore, the variance number 4 is not minor. Also from the proposed set plan, page 3 of 17, or A202, 90% of the stairs, the yard deck stairs, even encroach into the ROW easements. It is hard to imagine how stairs could be built permanently in ROW and how an encroachment in ROW could be on a proposal. Also from the latest proposal dated January 20th, page 16 of 17, or south elevation, you can see the stairs still remain in the ROW. This variance is not minor and not desirable. If the west wall of 35 extends further south as proposed, as shown in the dotted lines, it is impossible to park into the garage. There is a dotted line, the west wall to the right, if it is further extended. Thank you for the picture. And number 2, variance number 6. The proposed building length is 18.65 instead of the required 17 meters. As all the addition is at the back, and both our houses are under grade at the back, below grade at the back, the extended length will mean a new wall of roughly 18 feet long, 30 feet high, plus roof. This massive wall will block the view from east windows on ground and second floor, also totally blocking early morning sunlight in our breakfast room, which is a great enjoyment of life for 3 of us every Sunday morning. The impact of this variance on quality of family life is negative and not minor, particularly for my baby son. We enjoy the breakfast sunlight a lot, and neither of us wants to have breakfast in shadow. Please help. It's not desirable. Imagine if your baby and kids play in back with what a massive wall and how deprived it feels. Please do not give green light to this long addition. Pull back a bit. The variance of length will also make it impossible to park our car into the garage. 3. Variance number 4. Proposed rear deck is 0.5 meters from the west lot line. Yeah, you see from this picture, the stairs are still in there, in the easement. Number 2, variance number 2, half less than the required 0.9 meters, considering it's further south from the long addition at the back. This massive deck is too close to our property and our backyard and means loss of spacing, openness, and privacy. I don't think it's minor. Number 4, variance number 3. The proposed deck is more than 3 meters high from the ground and about 1.5 times than the required 1.2 meters. And the 3-meter projection of the deck is about 10 times of the required 0.3 meters. It's huge, not minor. Based on the parking study prepared by the designer on Monday, which we received on Monday, this is the one. Yeah, you can see there's the car is unable to get the access to the garage. We need this just in case when my son sells it, its property value lost permanently. And you can see, please upload the latest file dated on yesterday. You can see there's no room to park if you head in from north, and also no room to park head in from south, and also no chance to back into the garage if stairs encroachments are there. Yeah, you can see at the back of the car, there will be a stairs in the ROE zone, ROW zone. In conclusion, I respect their rights to do the renovation to live comfortably, but please make sure that our rights are to park into the garage is preserved, and also pull the length back a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Being none, thank you, sir. We'll go to the next person on the list. I have Yu Yao Cheng. Are you there?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, barely. You have to speak up. Can I get your full name and address?
Sure. My full name is Yao Cheng, and I live at 33 WILLOWBANK Boulevard.
Okay, thank you, madam. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Yep. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to voice my concerns today. I would mainly like to give some remarks about variances 3, 6, and 10. So the first main thing I'm worried about is the length of the house and how much the deck is reaching out, specifically regarding variances 3 and 6. I'm worried that the deck is reaching out too far and it will affect our privacy because we have bedrooms and living room windows at the rear end of our house. Also, because the house is so long, it's more than 1.6 meters more than the required length, that it will create a big area of shades in our garden, which is very unbeneficial to the growth of the plants, well, obviously. And to have a good visualization of this, we can see this diagram here. Oh, sorry, could you scroll down?
I'm sorry, what was that, madam?
Yes, here you can see in the red area that's the shade that will cover entirely the whole garden because of the extended length of the house. Yes, so since this is pretty much negatively affecting our house, I doubt this counts as an appropriate and minor change. And secondly, regarding variance 10 about the side yard setback, I'm concerned about how close our houses will be after this change. This is a 23% change, and I also reject it as a minor variance. Yes, to conclude, I have no other remarks to make other than these, and I approve the other variances. I also respect the rights to make the renovations and respectfully ask for your help here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go back to the Mr. Hayden, the agent. Are you there, sir? Mr. Hayden?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, you've heard.
Can you hear me?
You've heard the two previous speakers. Would you like to address their concerns, please?
Yes, please. So I just want to start by saying that I understand both concerns of the neighbors. So that is why we've actually made a few changes to the drawings per the January 20th submission. So just to start with Mr. Zhang's concern regarding the stairs in the right-of-way, we've actually removed those stairs entirely. So the right-of-way is being preserved in its entirety. So he will still have his full access to his right-of-way. The only area that we are developing is specifically on our own property away from the right-of-way. And regarding the building length, so we are extending it out to the back by only 2.84 meters. The additional increase to the length of 18.6 meters is also as a result of the enclosed front porch. And so we feel that that additional 2.84 meters is fairly minor in nature. And then otherwise, to address Ms. Cheng's concerns regarding the sunlight. So yeah, we do know that her garden is there, and that may be a concern. However, in the absence of a formal sun and shadow study, we can't actually verify that this will be the case, particularly as both properties have southern exposure. So to my knowledge, that they should have fairly full sun for most of the year. And regarding the rear deck, the concerns with privacy in regards to overlooking their yard, we've actually decreased the setbacks as well. So it's a so we increased the setbacks to 0.95 meters from the original 0.7 meters on the side. And additionally, I'd just like to ensure her that although this is not part of the Committee of Adjustment proposal, our intention is to provide a full height privacy screen on that eastern exposure of the deck. So she will have still full privacy in her yard. And regarding as well the setback of the building itself, the requirement is 0.9 meters, whereas we're proposing 0.7 meters. So it's only a 0.2 meter difference. And that is as a result of the existing location of the house. So we're just keeping the addition in line with the existing setback. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, with respect to the garages that are in the rear yard of the property, they're extremely unusual in that they're perpendicular to the right-of-way, which you don't normally find. But does anybody actually use those rear garages to park a vehicle in? Because they look extremely difficult to get in and out of, even under the conditions.
Yes, I can't speak for the neighbor at number 37, but 35 Willowbank, the homeowners do not use that as a garage. In fact, it can't even be used as a garage because it is not large enough inside to fit their vehicle.
I would take it that you couldn't access those garages without driving over your neighbor's property.
That's correct.
Outside the right-of-way.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would have appreciated if the applicant would have addressed according to the variance number what he was talking about. He was talking about all sort of things, but not the variance number he was touching upon. I would appreciate what he was talking about, variance number 4.
Sir, can you give us a little more of an elaboration on variance number 4 with respect to the, I believe that's the, let's see here. That's related to the west side yard stairs. Sir, are you there?
Yep, sure. So, yep. So regarding these stairs, that is, sorry, variance.
Number 4.
Yeah, so variance number 4. So, sorry, variance number 4 is regarding the building length.
No, you're not looking at the notice, sir. You have to look at the notice that's been distributed to the property owners. Variance number 4.
Sure.
Okay, it's on the screen.
Yep. Yeah, so variance number 4, we're no longer requesting that. We've eliminated those stairs entirely.
So
our setback now on the west property line is 1.45 meters, which is within the bylaw limits.
So can I, just to clarify, are you deleting variance number 4?
That's correct.
Okay, number 4 is deleted.
Yeah, that is what I wanted to hear.
Pardon me? Sir, is there anything else you'd like to change?
I believe that is it.
Okay, so you're just deleting variance number 4. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I touch upon variance number 9, please?
Okay, can you elaborate, sir, on variance number 9?
Sure. So let's
That's
see,
the
variance
one that
number 9.
relates to the proposed parking space will have a width of 2.63 meters.
Yeah, so the existing width of the front parking space is currently 2.6 meters. If we were to increase that, we would actually be removing space from the front yard of the soft landscaping, which in our opinion is not a ideal thing to do. So we'd like to seek approval for the 2.6 meter width as per existing.
So if I'm correct, are you just legalizing the existing condition?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of the speaker?
Yeah, I have to ask the speaker, sir, Mr. Chair, that transport services are already considered 2.6 as a substandard widening as against 2.9, which is minimum required. So it's a very serious thing that he is doing.
Mr. Connie already answered that. It's the existing condition. That's what he's trying, he wants to legalize the existing condition. If I could get a motion on this application, please. Ms. Sankar? Ms. Sankar, just to, before you start, please note that item variance number 4 has been deleted.
I understand that, Mr. Chair. Through you, this application and what was presented by the neighbors really did not sit well with me. Despite the fact that parking already has an existing, it's in existence. It's now brought before us to say, defer, still consult. I'm not there to see exactly how cars fit into that space or the mode in which they use them. All I do know is that from the testimonies of the neighbors, I feel that this is indeed infringing on their rights or their privacy and their ability to conduct what is the norm now as not the norm when this structure changes. As a result, and the fact that I don't have that much more information, I am going to deny or refuse this application. That's my motion.
Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion. Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Kidd dissenting. Sir, your application has been refused.
Thank you, committee.
Item number 26, 706 Hillsdale Avenue East. I have 3 people, Hillsdale Avenue East. I have 3 people registered to speak. I have Paul DeCuna. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. DeCuna, can I get your full name and address, please?
Paul DeCuna, 101 Silver Hill Drive.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have 2 other people registered to speak on this item, sir. If you could give us a brief presentation on what you see are the merits of the proposal.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Once again, I'm Paul DeCuna. I'm the architect and agent on this project. As you're aware, there are 7 variances related to this new house. We'll be demolishing an existing house and making a new single-family 2-story home. But before I get into the variances, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I just want to bring forth a couple of umbrella overall elements related to the design. So firstly, the owners intend to make this their forever home. So this is a very special project for them and they want to do it right. We work very closely with the owners in order to minimize the changes to the existing structure, in that we and to lessen the impact of the design. Specifically, the width of the new home is essentially the same as the original. In fact, it's 7 inches smaller at the front of the house. The location of the home in relation to the front property line, members of the committee, Mr. Speaker, is essentially in line with where it presently is. The new footprint is essentially the same. In fact, it's only 1.7 feet longer at the rear, but it's essentially the same footprint. And the new building height, we were very careful not to create a height variance. We were successful in that. And the new building length, there is no building length variance. So as we can see, we were very, very careful. Also want to bring to the committee's attention that the owners provided 45 letters of explanation related to the project to neighbors in the on Hillsdale and Sudan around December 21st. City planner Shireen Yazdani spoke to us in around early December, late November, early December, with some questions. We answered her questions, and she was satisfied and did not provide any objection to the project. And furthermore, we've received 3 letters of support from neighbors, namely 689, which is across the street, diagonally across the street, and the 2 immediate neighbors to each side. The neighbor at 694, which is the neighbor immediately to the west, and the neighbor at 710, which is the neighbor immediately to the east. With that said, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair rather, and members of the committee, I'm going to address the 7 variances. Variance number 1, the rear deck is 0.45 meters away from the property line, whereas 0.9 is required. First of all, let me state, and this relates to variance number, bear with me for one moment, variance number 6, which is actually related to the side yard setback of the house. The existing home, so if this goes back to one of my earlier statements, the existing home at present is 0.45 meters away. We have kept the new position, or rather the position of the new home, exactly the same as where it essentially was. So therefore, this deck at the rear is simply maintaining the line now of the new home. There is a garage immediately to the west. The neighbors aren't concerned, and it's non-impactful. And besides that, there are many variances, and I'll allude to this when I speak to the variances related to the side yard setback of the house. There are many variances on this street related to 0.45. Item number 2. It is the same variance, but at the front. It relates to the front platform. It is a small entry at the corner of that would be the southwest corner of the house. And it's similarly, it's in line with the new house, non-impactful, does not create anything worse than what is presently there. Variance number 3, members of the committee, the proposed eaves. In fact, the proposed eaves are requested to be 0.152 meters, which is approximately 6 inches. This is actually a better condition than what is presently the case in the existing home. And once again, it's a symptom of the fact that the home is 0.45 meters away, and as it presently is. But as I said, the existing eaves are quite a bit more than that. Item number 4, the rear yard soft landscaping at 44.26%.
Sir, can you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. The variance there is that, again, non-impactful, and we don't feel if it's of any concern. 0.70 is the variance related to lot coverage. There are, to the tune of about 34 examples.
Thank you. Can I ask, sir, there's a, looks like there's a shared right-of-way between the 2 properties, between 706 and 710. Is that correct? It shows on the survey.
Yes, sir.
Because is your building encroaching in the proposed building encroaching into the right-of-way?
No, it's not, Mr. Chair. It is, as I said, that facade of the home, which is the east facade, is 7 inches further west or away from its current position, and we're not encroaching into that in any mean whatsoever.
Okay, so you can confirm that you're not encroaching into the right-of-way.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Okay, we'll move to the next person on the list. I have an FPJ Wade. Are you there, sir?
I am here. It's PJ Wade.
Thank you, madam. Can I get your full name and address, please?
PJ Wade, 712 Hillsdale Avenue East, Toronto.
Okay,
Mary 4 Sam 1 Victor 3.
Thank you. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. The subject property is less than 30 feet west of my property where I've lived for more than 20 years, my forever home and garden. My letter of opposition reflects my long-held local commitment and details of my objections to the proposed variances. In response to the agent's comments, the neighbor abutting on the on the west side of the subject property, 649. They will not suffer blockage of the sun since the angles comes from the other direction. And property 710, which abuts on the east side, I spoke with the owner of the property, the subject property, and Natalie of 710 told me in an email, quote, "We have no issues," quote, and then she went on to explain that they have plans ready and that they, quote, "are currently waiting for our scheduled committee meeting as well," quote. Her 710 development, which abuts on the east side of the subject property, is proposed to be even more massive than the subject property with an expected FSI of 0.753. In addition, today I'll emphasize my concern for the dramatic increase in floor space index, or FSI, and explain why that, like the other proposed variances, is not minor but deviates from the official plan to cause direct and adverse impact on my property and life, on our neighborhood, especially the north side of Hillsdale Avenue East in the first block off Bayview Avenue, and especially on the character of our unobstructed openness, which stretches across a dozen rear Hillsdale yards, photo on page 3. Reason number 1, the subject building does not fit the prevailing densities and building masses, and therefore disregards the official plan 4.5.1, which is intent on making new development, quote, "respect and reinforce the general physical patterns," unquote. My objection is not merely about raising the maximum permitted FSI from 0.6 to 0.7. On the north side, 85% of homes have FSI below 0.6. 45% are at less than FSI 0.5, 0.28, 0.38. Only 2 properties are at 0.6 or more, none at 0.7. The change to FSI 0.7 is a dramatic neighborhood changing force, not a minor variance. The official plan states, quote, "physical changes to our established neighborhoods must be sensitive, gradual, and generally fit the existing physical character." Reason number 2, the non-minor variances result in a building of significant mass and bulk, which adversely impacts sunlight guarantees provided by 3.1.2D of the official plan. My life centers around my garden. During a day, sunlight comes to our homes from the open space of western sky that stretches across our properties. The more massive the subject building, the lower the amount and duration of sunlight that gets past it to the unobstructed space of our shared rear yard openness and into my garden and to my plants. The loss of sunlight is significant and problematic to me. Reason number 3, the increase of FSI violates 4.1.5G of the official plan, which protects our north side rear yard openness as, quote, "a special landscape feature that contributes to the unique physical character of the geographic neighborhood," quote. The intent and purpose of zoning bylaws is to reinforce prevailing, quote, "landscaped open spaces," quote, "like ours. 6-foot fences offer privacy, not obstruction. An 8 or 9 meter high rear extension encroaching into the rear yard obscures open sky views, reduces the amount and duration of sunlight, and obstructs green spaces. And the agent said that the house is staying in the same place and the deck is in alignment, and yet they're taking out a tree that's at least 50 years old, an evergreen. Why is that tree dying? Reason number 4, a disconnect of the proposed building contrasts with 4.15 of the official plan. And the proposed house design is too big for the lot. What the applicants want doesn't fit what's permitted and the official plan. Minor variances are
Madam,
not
can you
special
summarize, please?
privileges. I can, or they are not special privileges or entitlements other neighbors have built within the plan, like 654. The proposed variances in isolation and combination are not minor, insignificant, or
Okay, madam,
inconsequential.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the next person on our list. I have Al Kivi. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
My name is Al Kivi. I live at 427 Belsize Drive.
Okay, please proceed.
I'm representing the local residents association, Sarah, today. Sarah's been assisting residents in South Eglinton for over 50 years. Could we move to slide number 3, please? Slide number 3 refers to what we call nearby properties. Nearby properties have special meaning under the official plan. So what I've done is I've taken an aerial view of the nearby properties, about 10 of them. The star in the center shows the subject property. Can we go to the next slide, please? The official plan 4.1.5C is very special in this particular circumstance, and also very special in our whole sort of catchment area. We are, unlike the broad area of North York, we have fairly tiny lots. These are 25-foot lots by 125 feet. So the issue of height, mass, and scale and density are very acute when you're dealing with a very small lot, or what we call an urban lot fabric. So this aspect of the official plan is critically important. The language reads very carefully: prevailing height and the density and nearby properties. So I've highlighted that. Prevailing means most frequently occurring. This has a very special meaning under the new official plan. It doesn't mean the last approved. It doesn't mean the biggest house on the street. It means the most frequently occurring. Density means floor space index. Nearby means close proximity. Next slide, please. What I did here on this chart is looked at these 10 properties and did an assessment of the FSI of the 10 properties. As Ms. Wade indicated, none of them are at the 0.70 level. The average is 0.45. That's a very important element. 0.70 is a very, very long way from 0.45. Next slide, please. What I've done here is taken the same data and presented it in terms of a bar chart. I think this provides a little bit of a visualization of the essentially the FSI of the properties. As you can see, the mean in this area is 0.45. If you remember your statistics back from the day, one standard deviation above that is 0.59. The property proposed at 0.70 is nowhere close to the prevailing character of these nearby properties. Next slide, please. What I've done in this visualization is I've taken the adjacent property at 710 and presented it side by side with the subject property. 710 is not particularly special, but it does reflect the prevailing size, height, mass, scale, and density of properties in this particular area. As you can see down below, I've marked 0.70, which is what the applicant is requesting. I've indicated 0.60 down below. Even 0.60, that is what the regulation permits. Even 0.60 is overly large, and it really dominates the nearby or adjacent property. Next slide, please. My closing argument here is is what we have here is an application that fails in its density. The density clearly does not fit the prevailing character. It fails the official plan, it fails the density bylaw, and it clearly fails the test for minor variance. It furthermore also does not, it would impede on adequate sunlight. So it further fails another test, the official plan 3.1.2, to ensure that adequate sunlight. It's clearly not desirable use of the property. My recommendation is that the FSI be reduced to allow the proposed
Sir,
development.
can you summarize, please?
I would ask the panel to reduce the FSI to an amount that would properly reflect the purpose and intent of the official plan.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? Being none, we'll go back to the Mr. Vicuna, sir. You've heard the two previous speakers. Would you like to comment on what they've told us?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I would like to, first of all, begin to address the 0.7 and in fact, differ with the notion of prevailing character. I don't believe that the prevailing character is simply limited to a few homes in either direction. I believe it's the entire neighborhood. The bylaw relates to the entire neighborhood, not just a few homes to either side. As such, if we go to a witness statement for I believe it's 574, if you bear with me for one moment, Hillsdale, there's a witness statement there and a chart that forms part of that witness statement, of which there were 34 examples that were at 0.7 or higher. In fact, some of them significantly higher. And the notion of density and the 0.7 isn't just a number. It's actually about its impact. And as I stated, members of the committee from moment one, the impact of this is, if we look at this home from the street, it is 7 inches narrower than the existing house. It does not have a height variance. So by no means is it a massive house. I believe that these statements are intended to raise question of its size, and it's not a large impactful house by any means. Once again, it is not too high. It is not any wider than it presently is. Its length, as I stated, its length, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for putting that up. Its length and its is only 1 foot 7 inches longer than the present house. So if you just imagine the rear portion of the house that presently is 1 story, that goes up to 2 story. So when one addresses density, it's simply a ratio that does not always speak to the impact of the whole thing. So the neighbor, although I respect the neighbor's perspective to the neighbor PJ at 713 and any concerns that they may have, well, the reality is there is nothing large about the mass of this house. Our variance related to the wall is only that 12-foot piece of dormer. The eaves otherwise around the entire home meet the criteria of the house. The particular drawing that the Sarah gentleman, I'd like to be able to address their statement. If you could bring up the Sarah's slide that had the homes side by side, that would be helpful. Is that possible? Can you hear me?
Is it possible to put that up, Ms. Kotas? We're looking for it right now.
Yeah. Well, what I'd like to bring to the table is we don't know the accuracy of that drawing. I know as an architect, I draw accurate drawings. I don't know if that drawing is particularly accurate. I would like to go a little further along, so I'd like to bring that forth. But they're putting beside it a house that exists with neighbors there that have not at this point. Perhaps it's going to come. We don't know. It may change. The reality is they're bringing forth examples of an existing house purposefully to try to show that the 0.7 makes the house overly large. In fact, the relationship to as I stated earlier, the 0.7 position is where the existing house is. So 710 Hillsdale can't be that far back. It's impossible for it to be that far back. And as I stated, once again, everyone, the height, it falls within the height. This drawing is purposefully trying to inflame the notion or create the notion that our home is overly large. It is not overly large. It meets side yard setbacks on every facade except the one. It meets it by virtue of it being in exactly the same position. How can it be an overly large home?
Okay, thank you, sir. I just
I'd be
wanted,
very happy to answer your questions, members of the committee and Mr. Chair.
sir, I just wanted to confirm, the building complies with the bylaw with respect to building length, building depth, and the overall height. Is that correct?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chair. Front yard setback, rear yard setback, building length, building height.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? No? Could I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, sir. I have listened to the applicant as well as to the people in opposition. And I think listening to Mrs. Wade and other two participants in opposition of the application, I believe that variance number 5, which is floor space index, is quite high than the allowable of 0.60. And I think listening to the applicant, I'm not satisfied with his answer that this is not in general a practice of the character of the physical character of the neighborhood. This is not. There are houses which are much less, and as one of the sheet was shown, that most of the houses were under 0.60 times the lot. So that was quite sufficient for me to see that this is beyond the allowable limits. Therefore, I will move that variance number 5, floor space index of 0.70 floor area, more than the allowable. This is not a minor variance. It fails the zoning bylaws official plan as well as the physical character of the neighborhood, and it doesn't meet the intent. Therefore, it is not a appropriate development. I move that this variance number 5 be refused.
Okay, so Mr. Khan, if I could summarize, you want variance number 5 refused, but the other variances can be approved.
Number 5 and number 6 to be refused and other be approved, yes.
Okay, so variances 5 and 6 to be refused and the rest to be approved.
Yes.
Okay, have someone to second that motion? That motion does not carry. Can I get another motion? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sympathetic to the neighbors and their concerns with the type of development in their neighborhood. However, I do feel that this is an appropriate proposal for development in. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to forestry conditions.
I get someone to second that motion, please? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? All those in favor, yeah, opposed? Mr. Khan dissenting. That motion carries. Sir, your application's been approved subject to urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you. Item number 27, 81 Combe Avenue. I have one person registered to speak. That is a Moishe Yitzhak. Are you there, sir? Moishe Yitzhak, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Hello?
Mr. Yitzhak, we can't hear you. Mr. Yitzhak, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, sir.
Hello?
We can't hear you, sir. Pardon me?
Just a
Pardon me?
second. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you. Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you. Sir, can you give us your full name and address, please? Sir, can you give us your full name and address, please?
Moshe.
Mr. Chair, the applicant needs to turn off any background applications. We're getting feedback.
Sir, we're getting, you heard Mr. Clapp, we're getting feedback. You have a number of audio video devices turned on. Just speak into your telephone and turn everything else off. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, can I get your name and address, please?
Okay, can I get your name and address, please?
No, there's still something, you've got something turned on, sir. Your computer's turned, your speakers are turned on or on your computer, or you've got the television turned on, something that's giving us feedback. Just speak in, turn everything off and just speak into your telephone.
Moshe Yitzchak, 81 Combe Avenue.
Okay, try it again, sir. Gonna get your full name
Try
and
it again,
address?
sir. Can I get your full name and address?
Moshe Yitzchak, 81 Combe Avenue.
All right, sir, have you,
Sir, have you,
okay. Have you seen the report from
have you seen the
Transportation
report from
Services dated the
Transportation
19th of
Services dated the
January?
19th of
They're
January.
recommending that we
They're
refuse
recommending
variance
that we
number
refuse
3
variance number
and
3
approve variance
and
number
approve
4,
variance
subject to the
number 4,
following.
subject to the
All
following.
portion
All portion
of existing site
of
access
existing
driveways that
site
are no
access
longer
driveways
required
that are
must
no
be
longer
closed
required must
and
be
restored with
closed
soft
and restored
landscaping
with soft
and
landscaping
full concrete curbs
and
to the
full
satisfaction of Transportation Services. Have you read that report?
Have you read that report?
No.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
What they're proposing to do
what
is
they're-
Transportation Services wants us to refuse variance number 3, which is the proposed driveway width. Have you discussed this with Transportation Services?
Services?
No, my agent was talking with them and where is number?
Yeah, just a simple yes
Yeah,
or no will
just a
do.
simple yes or no will do.
No, I did not.
Would you like to defer the
Would you like
application
to
so you
defer
can
the
talk it over with
application so you can talk
Transportation
it over with
Services?
Transportation Services?
No, we've been waiting very long time.
Okay, well, you understand the
Okay,
the
well,
risk, if
you
you want to
understand the
proceed, then the
risk,
risk
if you
is
want to
your own,
proceed,
okay?
then the risk is your own, okay?
We cannot change the decision after that because it's all what we're requesting is a full
Okay, sir,
renovation
what you
of the
can
main
do
floor.
is,
What you can do
you can give the committee a
you
brief
can give the
presentation on
committee
what
a
you
brief
see as the merits of
presentation on
your
what you see
proposal.
as the merits of your proposal.
Okay, we want to do a complete renovation for the main floor, extend the driveway to turn it into a double car driveway and move the garage to the front of the house to line up with our neighbors.
Okay, do you have anything more you'd like to add?
Okay, do you have anything more you'd like to add?
No, I don't do anything different than any of my neighbors so far. They're all doing the same things. They approve, most of the houses have double driveway there. They've been approved by the committee or by the city.
Okay,
And I don't understand why they're refusing it.
You're proposing to widen the
You're
driveway
proposing to
on your
widen the
Combe Avenue
driveway
frontage.
on your Combe Avenue frontage.
And when I was
Yes,
out
my
there,
neighbor did it and I
when I
want to
was
do
out
the
there-
same.
sir, you're proposing to widen the
Sir,
driveway
you're
on your
proposing to
frontage.
widen
Does
the
that
driveway on your
require that
frontage.
you take any
Does that
trees out in the
require
road
that you
allowance?
take any trees out in the road allowance?
No, there is no trees at all.
Okay, all right. I'll,
Okay, all right.
I will, and you don't want to defer the
I will-
application to
and you don't
discuss
want
it
to
with
defer the
Transportation
application to
Services.
discuss it with Transportation Services.
Well, I've been waiting for that meeting over a year.
Sir, you have to
Like-
call them. They're not going to call you.
Sir, you have to call them. They're not gonna
Is there
call
any
you.
questions of the speaker?
Is there any questions of the speaker?
There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to err on the side of caution. And given the transportation reports and the unwillingness to sort of defer or make any other movement to work in the middle with us, I have no other choice. I will err on the side of caution and I will motion to refuse this application at this time.
Okay, thank you. I've someone to second that motion. Mr. Khan seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Hunter, you in favor or opposed? Mr. Hunter, you in favor or opposed? I don't think Mr. Hunt can hear us. Okay, well, I have enough here. Okay, sir, your application has been refused. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to item number 9 Malabar Place. I have one speaker registered is Ali Shakiri. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East.
Oh, thank you, sir. I have, there's a report from City Planning dated the 18th of January. They indicate that they have no objection provided that the proposal is developed substantially in accordance with the side yard setbacks as shown on the site plan drawing attached to this report. Did you have an opportunity to review that report, sir?
Yes, sir, I did, and we accept that. Also, I've seen the forestry report, which is acceptable by us.
Okay, thank you. It's pretty clear what you're asking for in the in your application. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments. Mr. Shakiri, is there anything you'd like to add that the committee doesn't have in its materials before us today?
I have nothing to state right now, but if there is any question, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Okay, thank you. Committee has no questions, so I'm going to take it into committee. If I could get a motion on this application. Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I do believe that this application meets the 4 tests. To me, it's minor in nature upon review. So I'll motion to approve this application, making it subject to forestry, of course, and making it subject to the January 18th staff report that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the side yard setbacks as shown in the site plan drawing.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Khan seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved subject to city planning and urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now on item number Item number 29, 584 Woburn Avenue. I have 2 people registered to speak. One of them is Hamid Behesht. Are you there, sir?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Arjang Bahesh from Homeland, 49 Wycliffe Crescent.
Okay, thank you, sir. I note that we have, the only comments we have from city staff on your application are urban forestry. We have one person who would like to speak on this application, so if you could give us a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to the committee members and committee staff. My name is Arjang Bahesh from Homeland. There are 8 minor variances before us today, 4 of which speak to similar issues, leaving 6 variances to discuss, which I will go through and explain. Now, if I could please ask committee staff to kindly display slide number 1 of the presentation package. If I can, please ask the committee staff
Hang on.
if they would.
I'm just a moment, sir. Were you waiting for something to be put on screen? Okay.
Yes, we've submitted a presentation package, Mr. Chair, to the committee.
And we're looking for that right now.
Okay.
Sir, is there, oh, hang on just a moment.
There we go. That's the
Okay,
presentation.
thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So if I could restart my presentation. Slide number 1 you see in front of you speaks to variance number 1, which is about the lot coverage, which has been increased simply due to the size of the property. The prevailing lot size in the neighborhood in terms of width is 40 feet wide and larger. And in fact, the minimum width requirement as per the bylaw itself for the subject property is 40 feet wide. Our lot is exactly half that. At 20 feet wide, this is the narrowest detached home that we've ever designed. And we've put forth a lot coverage which hasn't caused the building to encroach upon other bylaws such as the front yard setback shown by the left arrow in red, which has maintained the requirement of the bylaw, the building length shown in blue, which is under the limit of the bylaw, and the rear yard setback shown by the right arrow in red, the limit of which is far further back into the rear yard than the back wall of our proposal. And it's important to note that the proposed lot coverage is not only below the average, but the lowest of 24 examples of developments in the neighborhood with narrower lots such as ours with greater approved lot coverages. Now, if I could please see slide number 2. The next variance speaks to a proposal of 3 stories. If we can turn to slide number 2 kindly. So we see the second floor of the home here, which only has 2 bedrooms have been able to fit, each highlighted there in pink, one with a view to the front and the other to the back, with a narrow hallway in purple to connect the two to each other, as well as to bathrooms and closets. So the existence of the 3rd level has allowed us to provide more than just 2 bedrooms in this brand new home. The development of narrower homes, especially 20-foot wide lots, and specifically where the garage is not part of the house itself, such as our proposal, have almost all been built in this fashion with 3 full stories and in the immediate vicinity of the proposal. Now, if I could please turn to slide number 4. This 3-story arrangement has caused the building to have, sorry, if I could please turn to slide number 4, please. Thank you very much. So the 3-story arrangement has caused the building to have a height increase of 20 centimeters or 8 inches above the bylaw. So to show just how minor and insignificant this is, it's been highlighted by the tiny stripe you see at the orange at the top of the building. It can hardly be seen on this 2-dimensional diagram, let alone in perspective by the public in the streetscape. And finally, if I can please turn to slide number 5. If I could please kindly turn to slide number 5.
Yeah, sir, it's not responding, so if you could just proceed without, if you can try and
Sure.
proceed without it.
No problem. No problem. So the requirement of the rear yard soft landscaping or green space for a home with a frontage of 6 meters or less is 25% required. For frontages of 6 meters, over 6 meters, it's a requirement of 50%. Our lot frontage is 6.1 meters. So we're essentially 10 centimeters of lot width away from this cutoff limit and from not having such a variance at all. So the second reason for the variance is the configuration for this specific back of a block of narrow homes in which a rear lane gives access to the rear yard parking so that additional space is not sacrificed from the first floor of the home. If I could please turn to slide number 6, if it's possible. Wonderful, thank you very much. We can see that this setup has been followed by almost all of the neighbors on the block, including our 2 immediate neighbors to the west with rear parking pads at the rear yard of their home. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to our next depositant. I have a Carolyn Tanner Cohen. Are you there, madam? Carolyn Tanner Cohen, are you there?
Yes, hello, hi.
Yes, hello, Ms. Cohen. If you
Can
could
you hear
give us
me?
your full name and
Oh,
address,
great.
please.
Thank you so much. It's Carolyn Tanner Cohen. I'm at 582 Woburn, directly west of this proposed structure.
Okay, thank you, madam. If you'd like to give us your views on this application.
Directly east, I'm sorry, directly east. Yes, if the minor variance goes ahead, I will lose my, let's first talk about the upper floor and the 3rd floor. I also have an upper deck on my 3rd floor, and if the minor variance goes ahead, I will lose all my privacy on that upper deck. And right now, that is the only place that my children have as an outdoor space to play. If you look on the drawings or the photographs that the builder showed before, you'll see that I don't have a play area in my backyard. I have just a minor pad where we have some lawn furniture. So we use that top deck as our main play area for my children. And I will lose all the sun, or I'll lose an additional amount of sun if that variance does go ahead. And then in addition to that, if he makes the house that much longer with the proposal that he is suggesting, we are going to lose the privacy in our backyard as well. I have no problem with building a new house. Right now it's an Airbnb, which I'm not happy about. But I object to this minor variance.
Okay, thank you, madam. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the agent. Sir, you heard the comments from Ms. Cohen. Would you like to respond to them, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Ms. Cohen's first objection, as written in her letter, was towards our overall building height. If I could please see slide number 10 of the presentation package. Slide number 10 is a chart which shows 16 examples of narrower developments within a vicinity of a 500-meter radius to our proposal, all with a building height approved at the Committee of Adjustment of the same height or higher than our proposal, with an average building height of 10.295 meters. And as you can see, the majority of these examples have been taken directly either from Woburn Avenue itself or from Brookdale Avenue, Bedford Park, Douglas Avenue, and Cranbrook Avenue, which are streets that are 1 or 2 streets directly north or south of our subject property. They're extremely relevant and comparable developments. And if I could please see slide number 3, the most relevant of these examples are the 2 immediate homes at the left and right of our subject property. 582 Woburn Avenue, Ms. Cohen's home, directly to the east of the proposal, and twin buildings of 588 and 590 Woburn Avenue to the west, each have a building height of 10.2 meters, exactly the same as our proposal. So we have taken our immediate neighbors into account to put forth a proposed building height, which is lower than the average of those 16 examples. And if I could please turn to the second last page of my presentation, we can see the notice of decision for Ms. Cohen's own home at 582 Woburn Avenue, immediately to the east of the proposal. Variance number 2 of that decision shows an approved building height of 10.2 meters, exactly the same as our proposal. Variance number 3 mentions the improved number of stories of 3. Variances number 4 and 5 show approved side yard setbacks of 0.46 meters on either side, while we're proposing side yard setbacks of 0.6 meters on either side. And if I could please go to the last page of that decision shows item number 7 with an approved side wall height of 9.6 meters, which is much more than our proposal of 8.83 meters. And although the old bylaw is technical, item number 14 shows an approved old bylaw height for Ms. Cohen's home, which is even slightly higher than our proposal. Ms. Cohen's second objection, both in her letter and as she just explained, is towards our building length. Well, we haven't requested any extra building length. If I could go to slide number 1, we've been, as I mentioned in my presentation, very careful to maintain the building length in line with the requirement of the bylaw, and our length is actually just below that requirement. And if there's a question about how far back the building goes into the backyard, both the building depth and rear yard setback are further into the backyard than where our home is. In fact, the proposal is pushed at the maximum limit to the front of the property, right at the front yard setback limit. So, Mr. Chair, we've weighed all of these factors very carefully and have completed a detailed study of not only the surrounding neighborhood, but also the immediate neighbors to put forth a proposal that is in alignment with the 4 tests of the committee. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Please note that the only conditions we have from staff are from urban forestry. Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I've heard the explanation submitted by the applicant today, and I'm willing to accept those. In review of this application, I therefore feel that it does meet the 4 tests in accordance with the explanations provided, and I'll motion to approve this application subject to forestry.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? And motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, committee is back in session. We have, for the next 4 items, Mr. Kidd, you have a conflict, so you're excused. I think what we'll do is we have, for the next 4 items, the same agent and the same deputant, one person speaking on each one. So we'll try and hear these applications together for brevity. And I'll start off with the agent is Mr. Peter Higgins. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Higgins, we're going to try and deal with 171 to 177 Rumsey in one presentation. So
I would like that as well.
If we'll see if that works out, try and deal with them all together. If you could, I think, try and go through each application. I'll give you a little longer than the normal 5 minutes to try and, in view of the fact that we're dealing with 4 separate addresses. I'm sure you're aware that with respect to number 171 Rumsey Road, that there was a planning report dated the 18th of January. And I think what we'll have to do, sir, is I'll go through each one of these and you can tell me whether you've read these reports. The 18th of January City Planning Report on 171 Rumsey Road recommended that modifying variance number 1 regarding the north side yard setback for the platform from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9 meters and increasing variance number 8 regarding the north side yard setback from 0.61 to greater than 0.9 meters. We're just going to ask, in that case, sir, were you prepared to modify the application with regards to city planning's recommendation?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Just to let you know, and I'm sure you've already read it, the Transportation Services Report of the 18th of January for all 171 to 177 Ramsey Road was recommending deferral to increase the parking stall length. They want that shown on the plan. Would you like to defer the application to discuss it with Transportation Services?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would like to continue with the hearing today.
Okay.
I am aware of Transportation's letter.
Okay, number 173, 173 Rumsey Road. City Planning was recommending the following modification, increasing the north side yard setback for the platform from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9, and increasing variance number 9 regarding the north side yard setback from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9 meters, and increasing variance number 10 regarding the south side yard setback from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9 meters. Are you going to make any of those modifications?
No, I'm not.
Okay. 175 Rumsey Road, which is, again, there's another planning report recommending that.
Actually, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon. I did mean to, for 173, to go to number 3 and variance number 11 regarding north side yard setback for the platform.
Just a moment, Mr. Higgins. So on 173, you're proposing to change, you're proposing to modify which?
Number 3.
Okay.
To 0.9 meters. That is the north side yard setback for the platform.
Okay, from 0.2 meters to what?
I believe it's 0.61 to 0.91.
Okay, hang on. That's not variance number 3. You have to use the notes.
Which house are we looking at?
Where this is on 173 Rumsey Road.
I'm just going by the, I beg your pardon, we're not getting into, I didn't think the variances. We were referring to the staff report. So I see what you're saying. point number 3 under the staff report,
No, no, no.
no, notes variance number 11, that would be increased to 0.91. Yes.
Okay, hang on. Variance number, you're proposing to change variance number 3.
No,
No.
variance number 11.
Yeah, go to the hearing notice, sir.
Okay, we were talking about the staff report, so I'm
No,
sorry.
no, the
if I-
hearing notice.
Mr. Chair, the staff report refers to variances number 1, 9, and 10. Maybe that might help Mr. Higgins.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sankar. So have you got the hearing
So-
notice there, sir?
I do indeed.
Okay.
So for variance number 1, which is the platform,
Okay,
we are revising that to 0.91.
okay, from 0.61 to 0.91.
That is correct.
Okay, is there any more changes?
No, there is not.
Okay,
Okay, Mr. Higgins, Mr. Chair, may I ask Mr. Higgins, are we at 171 Rumsey Road or what?
we're on number 173.
We're moved on to 173.
Okay, 173, okay, fine,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, now we're on number 32, 175 Rumsey Road. Okay, we have the planning report, again, recommended the following variances be modified regarding the north side yard setback from 0.61 to greater than 0.9. Increase variance number 9 regarding the south side yard setback from 0.61 to greater than 0.9 meters. And increase variance number 11 regarding the north side yard setback from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9 meters. Now, with respect to 175 Rumsey Road, Mr. Higgins, are you proposing to change anything as recommended by planning?
I don't believe so, sir. Mr. Chairman, you went over those. Yes, I beg your pardon. This is tricky. For 175, we are also going to revise number 11, the non-encroaching platform at 1.2. We are going from 0.6 to 0.91.
Okay, so that's variance number 11.
That is correct.
On the hearing notice?
That is correct.
Okay, variance number 11, you're changing from 0.61 meters to
0.91.
okay. And finally, the last one, 177 Rumsey Road. Again, the planning report recommends increasing variance number 8 regarding the south side yard setback from 0.61 meters to greater than 0.9 meters. Were you proposing to do that for 177?
No,
Okay. All right.
but we are, just since we're talking about what we're changing, under the notice of hearing, number 9 for 177 is again the non-encroaching platform.
Okay.
We are going to go from 0.91 to 1.2. So we would eliminate number 9 for 177 Rumsey.
Okay, so number 9 on 177, you're deleting that variance.
Correct. And I'm so sorry, but because I thought you were reading off the staff report,
No,
I'd like to go back to
that's fine.
171.
Yeah, we're just going by, you have to go by the hearing notice. Okay, sir,
Yeah, I'd
what
like
we'll
you to-
do is, if you can combine your presentation and give us a combined presentation for these 4 properties, I think that would be more efficient than listening to them separately.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's
Mr.
fine.
Higgins,
Other than
Mr. Higgins.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Higgins, I have a question.
getting
for you.
back to one,
On 171, are you making any changes?
yes, we are changing number 1, again, the platform, from 0.61 to 0.91.
Okay, hang on just a second. Which Which variance number is that on the hearing notice?
Number 1.
Variance number 1 for number 171.
That is correct.
And it's going from 0.61 to 0.91. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you for your patience. It's not easy with 4 of them. If I may make my presentation now. Excuse me. We hand delivered 24 packages to all neighbors in the surrounding area, plus the the Leaside Property Owners Association, as well as the councillor. We received 4 letters of support. There was 1 letter of objection. I don't know if the neighbor at 179 is actually going to speak, but we have been dealing with the neighbor to the north, and he is preparing to rescind his opposition. Okay, so that would basically mean there's five neighbors in support. There is no opposition from any other neighbors, and there's no opposition from the LPOA. No comments from the councillor. Both of them usually comment, as you know. Regarding the side yard setbacks in the planning report, our lot widths vary from 8.53 to 8.84 and to 9.45. There are 4 lots, 2 of them are 8.53. The average then is 8.8 meters. The zoning requirements for this property is for a minimum lot frontage of 12 to 15 meters. As our lot frontage is average at 8.8 meters versus the minimum 12 to 15, we believe that relief from the side yard setback requirements is reasonable. All of the existing, former houses on the properties, which have been torn down except one wall on the north side, north lot, had side yard setbacks of 0.44. We have a minimum of 0.61 and a maximum of 0.91. We think this is reasonable, particularly because the old bylaw, which is recently changed, they've dropped the requirement for the side yard setback for the old bylaw, used to be 0.91. So I guess what you would say is, together with the lack of opposition, that having 0.9 on the outer side to the south of 171 and to the north of 177 is okay with both neighbors. But due to the lot narrowness, we are asking for permission to go to 0.61, which is a total then of 1.22 between each of the houses in the middle. We have 2 lots where we have the smaller dimension in the middle. I don't know if the staff can, can bring up the site plan as well as the streetscape and the rearscape for observation, please. Annie?
Which one is that, sir?
Well, there is a site plan. It's a colored site plan that you should have on your file. And overall, it shows all 4. Maybe I'll just continue speaking if I may, please.
If haven't had it, Ms. Kodas, we have any luck finding it? No, we don't. We can't see it. In the material
Okay.
here.
So there are four houses that are planned where there had been 4 houses. All 4 houses were torn down for reasons which we don't need to get into. We have designed 4 new houses that, while somewhat more contemporary in styling, are much more of a Leaside style with a low sloped hipped roof, minimal overhangs, brick for the most part, brick and stone. And it has been seen by other neighbors as being a refreshing change from the flat roofed modern boxes, of which there is one immediately to the south. And sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I beg your pardon. We are dealing with height variances that are based on, and if you were to have driven to the site, you would see that the four houses were excavated, their basements were excavated, and some fill was moved around. We have to use the survey that shows the dips and doodles of those former excavated basements, which causes a small amount of our height variance. Our height variance is only at the very topmost section of the hipped roof. The hipped roof is, as I said earlier, a very low slope. The variance is approximately a foot at the top, and we have no gables, we have no dormers, we have a sidewall that meets the requirement for the sidewall height. So we're simply asking for a rhythm to be established of 4 new houses, of which 2 are set back to align with the house to the south, and the northerly 2 are set back so that they align with the main wall of the house to the north at 179. The impact on the neighbors is, in my opinion, clearly shown by their lack of concern. In other words, what we've done is a welcome addition to the neighborhood that has seen for a number of years 4 empty lots. I believe we have met the official plan. We essentially match the prevailing heights, certainly massing, scale, density, and dwelling type of nearby residential properties. So I again state to you that although we do have a number of variances in each property, they are all quite similar. We have eliminated one only because we've been dealing with the neighbor to the north who had some minor concerns. We now have them on side. So I think that we have before you an urban infill situation that not only looks good to the neighbors, but I believe fits in beautifully. There's plenty of room at 1.22 meters between each house to get to the backyards. There's 0.91 on each side, which basically reflects the house to the south. And there you have it. We don't have anything tall like a chimney. As I said earlier, no dormers, no gables. But we didn't want to have a flat roof because I particularly don't like them in the neighborhood. And the neighbors are quite happy that we don't have that. Our ground floors are also much lower than they would be for a house at 169 Rumsey Road, which is immediately to the south. It has your typical main floor up about 8.5 to 9 feet in the air. All of our main floors are within 3 feet of the grade. I usually get tremendous opposition from the neighborhood association, Jeremy Gowan, who you've dealt with many, many times. I think it's, and we did send him all of the drawings many weeks ago. I think it's very telling that he's not before you today to argue that this is not a good plan for Leaside. If there's ever a Leaside lover, it's Mr. Gowan. I respect that. But this time around, he hasn't mentioned a peep. So I would say to you again, minor roof height, fully hipped roof, low slope, no gables, no dormers. We're at the allowable height for the sidewalls. We have very minor length and or depth issues, very minor. The Main floors are as close to grade as any typical East Side house. What we only have really is the side yard setbacks between essentially the middle two houses. And we're asking for your understanding that this, in today's market, allows us to get a decent layout for a family to purchase and move into.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. I have just a couple of questions. With respect to the transportation services issue over the parking stall length, what's your response to that?
Thank you very much. The parking is such at 5.818 meters versus the allowable 5.6 that it could fit a Volvo station wagon. It's deficient by approximately 1 foot 4 inches. It is wider, slightly wider than the requirement, but it is indeed shorter. The neighbor to the north at 179 posed the same question. He was concerned about cars having to park outside. Well, we do have a parking space behind the main wall, which is the east side requirement. But we also have room to fit one car easily between the front wall of the garage and the front property line, which is 7.7 meters distance. And we have room to park 2 full-size cars between that same garage and the easterly face of the sidewalk with no overhang. So in today's situation where many couples and families have more than one car, 2 cars can fit on the side, on the road, excuse me, on the driveway, one completely legally, and the other one legally inside the garage, but it would have to be a smaller car like a Volvo station wagon, not a large SUV.
Okay, thank you, sir. And,
So we think it's reasonable. Sorry. We think it's reasonable, and that transportation being transportation, they look out for all of us, of course, but I think slightly undersized garage in terms of its length is well workable.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Just and one other comment with respect to the design of the front wall of the building. Although the committee doesn't deal with design, I noticed that the architecture, the front wall of the buildings, they all look the same. Is it possible to make them different?
Well, they are in fact.
All 4 fronts look the same.
They are similar, Mr. Chairman, but they're not identical, at least with the streetscapes that we presented to all of the neighbors. They are all a mixture of smooth stone and brick. They all have a dark shingle roof. They all have operable windows. They have different garage doors. They have different entry doors. And it's our intention to make them reasonably different, but to still be homogeneous, much the same way that the East Side neighborhood is in fact the same way. You'll find every other house, on a East Side street be almost identical, but with different brick, different window patterns, different front doors, and such. And so we're carrying on that tradition, and we will continue to make sure that they have each their own personality.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Higgins. Any questions of the speaker? Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt, we can't hear you. Mr. Hunt, we can't hear you. Mr. Hunt's not coming through, so I'm sorry. If any further questions of the speaker? We'll go to the next person on our list. Aaron Amon Galady, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. My name is Aaron Giladi, and my address is 292 Erdrey Road.
Okay, now we're dealing with all 4 addresses, 171 to 177. So if your comments
Correct.
can cover all four of those, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, my comment is in relation to the maximum height. The request for variance is ranging between 36 centimeters, which is more than a foot, to 48 centimeters, which is half a meter. And I have my house sits immediately east to these four properties. And that change in height means that from, well, at least I can tell about January. In December it will be much, and in November it will be earlier. From January on, it will completely block the sun to our property from 4 o'clock in the afternoon on January, earlier on and no sun at all from 4 on, and that will be earlier on in December and November, and with a height of 8.5 centimeters, because it's easy to see, because I'm able to see the new house that has been built, which is too high, and the old house that is normal height, and that's exactly where that the half a meter difference is the difference. The foot difference is a difference between us having sun or not in the afternoon. And another thing, Mr. Speaker, it's not just a matter of quality of life. Unfortunately, in my case, it's only a matter of health, of mental health. So my objection is to the height. I would ask the committee to only allow the maximum permitted height of 8.5 meters, which would make a significant difference for us still able to see the sun in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins, you've heard the
Mr. Chair, we have one more deputant to speak.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yes. It's Mr. Bob Thacker.
Mr. Thacker, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure, Bob Thacker at 179 Rumsey Road.
Okay, can you please tell us your thoughts on these applications?
Yes, I'm limiting my thoughts to 177 Rumsey Road, which is the one that adjoins us on the south side. And I think you may have in front of you a document I sent in on the 21st that summarized my concerns at the time. And they were mainly around the driveway, which you've already discussed, and the side yard setback to the north part of the house adjoining our south side. And through a meeting we had with Peter Higgins and his staff earlier this week, we were able to satisfy ourselves that all of our issues have been addressed. Peter did a good job of explaining from his perspective, and we agree that the driveway should be a non-issue. The side yard setback, he's given us the 0.9 in his proposal, and he has eliminated one of the jut outs on that wall, which was going to be a 1-foot jut out for the fireplace. He's eliminated that and shaved 6 inches off the one that remains. So that's good from our perspective. And the other, I believe you called it a non-encroaching platform, which was going to be flush with the sidewall, the northern side wall of that house. He's pushing that back 1 foot. So in actual fact, it'll be a 1.2 setback at that point, compared to the 0.9 that we had for the rest of the wall. So those were our concerns, and those were his responses. I think I'm accurately reflecting them. And I just wanted to say that from our perspective anyway, he's come a long way, and we're withdrawing our objections and our concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's good to hear. Does the committee have any
Thank
questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go back to Mr. Higgins. You heard the comments from Mr. Galady about I think his main concern is the height of the buildings.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Glady, it's unfortunate that he did not approach us. He doesn't have to, but he was in our catchment area of the 24 packages that we hand delivered to the neighbors across the street, to the neighbors on either side, 3 up and 3 down, and about 10 neighbors on Airdrie behind us. We did have a letter from 282 Airdrie, interestingly enough, stating that they had no objection, they loved the designs, and were happy to welcome these designs into their neighborhood. Now, in terms of the height, I think Mr. Glady is slightly misunderstanding. The house at 169 Rumsey Road that he might be referring to, I agree, looks very high. Its top of roof is 5 feet higher than our eaves. It is a vertical wall right up 5 feet higher than our eaves. That is a box. That is blockage. We have a very low sloped hipped roof, fully hipped, as I said, no dormers. We're at a 12 to 6 slope. That is essentially a 45 degrees. We have a variance of, he's right, at 177 because of the grading. We have a 1'6" variance, whereas a 171 Rumsey on the south side, we have about an 8-inch or 12-inch variance to the height. But I would say to Mr. Glady, and I'm hoping he can hear me, is that be happy to meet with him on the property, but the height overage is a strip about 4 feet wide, or perhaps 5 feet wide at the bottom of itself. And it is very minuscule in terms of the totality and will have nothing to do with any loss of sunlight to his property, which is approximately, his rear wall would be approximately 100 feet away from our rear wall and more so to the roof. So we have a variance. It's very minor, but I think it's very reasonable if one looks at the style of the roof.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Higgins. I'll just ask the committee if it has any further questions. Okay, how we'll deal here, we're going to move into committee, and we need to make decisions on these four requests. So what we'll do is we'll deal with each decision for each address separately. So with respect to item number 30, which is 171 Rumsey Road, there has been a change to, that has been amended on variance number 1. So that variance number 1 has been changed so that the proposed north side yard setback for the rear yard non-encroaching platform is 0.61 meters. That has been increased to 0.91 meters. So if I could get a motion on this particular application at 171 Rumsey Road. Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. And I'd be willing to do all of them together because I know all of the changes, but if you'd like to do it one by one, that's not a problem.
Ms.
I've
Sankar,
heard.
if you're okay with that, we can do it. I'll just go through, make sure that we've all got the correct changes.
Yes, I've recorded it here, but go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Number 1, we've done 171 Rumsey Road. He's making a change again to variance number 1. So that's, again, the proposed north side yard setback for the non-encroaching rear yard platform is 0.61 meters, which is being increased to 0.91 meters. On 175 Rumsey Road, we have a change to variance number 11, which is the proposed north side yard setback for the non-encroaching rear platform is 0.61 meters, which is being increased to 0.91 meters. And at 177 Rumsey Road, we have a change to variance number 9, which currently reads The proposed north side yard setback for the rear yard non-encroaching platform is 0.91 meters, and that variance is being deleted. So if we want to make, a motion, Sankar, on those four, by all means, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I've listened to what the applicant has said. I accept his explanations with respect to transport. That was my concern as well, Mr. Chair. I have heard what the deputants had said, and I also accept the explanations from the applicant. And in reviewing just the height as well, even by as of right, he's still able to make 8.5 meters. He's only increased it 0.43, which is just over a foot, which should not make that significant a difference to the shadowing. So all of this being said, and with the changes made by the applicant here today, I'm going to motion to approve this application. It will be subject to forestry. And again, for items number 30, which is 171, variance 1 increases to 0.91 meters. Item 31, which is 173 Rumsey, variance number 1 increases to 0.91 meters. Item number 32, 175 Rumsey, variance number 11 increases to 0.91 meters. And item number 33, which is 177 Rumsey, variance number 9 is eliminated. Subject to forestry, as I said, and that's my motion. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Khan dissenting. That motion carries. Mr. Higgins, your applications have been approved subject to urban forestry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and all of you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. We'll go to item number 34, 74 Railside Road. I have one person registered to speak. That's a Mr. Paul Wright. Mr. Wright, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wright. I think it's pretty clear what you're asking for. We have, just if you could bear with me here, we have a number of correspondence here. We just recently received something from Economic Development dated the 27th of January. They're in favor of your proposal. We have 2 memos from Transportation Services, and I'll just, one from the 19th of January, which wanted some vehicle maneuvering diagrams, but there's a subsequent one to that that's dated the 21st, 19th of January, which, I'm sorry, the original 19th of January one recommended deferral. They submitted a subsequent one dated the, I don't have it down here, the 27th of January, but indicated they have no objection. So they've rescinded, essentially seem to have rescinded that previous memo. I just wanted to be clear, sir. There seems to be some confusion as to whether you can put those loading docks with direct access onto Railside, and transportation seemed to indicate this was an arterial road. This is not an arterial road, correct? Railside.
Correct.
It's
not a through road.
It's a collector road, correct?
Yes, it's a minor road. It's not a through road. It's a circular, U-shaped road that links back to Lawrence, okay. And so it's not a through road. It's not a major road.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 variances before us. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or would like a presentation. Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wright, I'm just reading from the most recent transportation report. It says the applicant has agreed to work with Transportation Services to resolve all the transportation-related matters and ensure that all required variances in this regard are adequately addressed. Is that your understanding as well?
That is, we've been working closely with them and planning as we've been moving forward, and I think that's why they rescinded the deferral with their second memo, because we've been addressing their concerns and satisfying, and we feel that they're now more in support with us. and we're going to work forward with them on developing the driveway at the front to their satisfaction, and we're happy to do so.
Okay, thank you, sir. We had, like you said, it's pretty clear what you're asking for. Is there anything that you'd like to add that isn't before the committee in the material we have now?
I think I just want to add that we have been working closely with transportation. So one of the main things is that we addressed that we could not put the loading docks anywhere else on the site. The site just doesn't allow it, so trucks cannot turn around. So we're limited to making this building viable by adding more loading docks at the front. We currently have an existing loading dock that has and permits the right to back into the loading dock from RAILSIDE, and that's very consistent with every other property along the street. So it's been operating that way for 61 years. So the street pattern, all the users on the street are used to it. So we feel it's very consistent with the known traffic pattern on the street, and basically transportation is concurring with that. We have approached all the neighbors immediately around us and down the street, and they've all indicated they were supporting us. We know that there's been at least 3 written submittals to you in support, including the both immediate neighbors to us. We've been, like I said, we've been working closely with planning and zoning and transportation, and I know the council is saying that he's supporting us as well, and obviously economic development. So we feel that it's minor in nature, and we would hope that you consider approving it.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? There being none, can I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I accept the responses from transportation as of January 27th. That was very helpful. So I don't see a problem with this application. I'll put forward a motion to approve this application. It will be subject to forestry and also subject to the January 27th transportation report, in which they do ask that the applicant continue to work closely with them in finding solutions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Khan seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to transportation services and urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much, and appreciate everybody from the committee, and we'll look forward to working with transportation.
Thank you. Item number 35, 30 Ballyronan Road. I have one person registered to speak. That is Graham Barrett. Are you there, Mr. Barrett?
I am. Good afternoon, committee members, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, we have a report from City Planning dated the 18th of January, which indicates that they have no objection, but they're recommending that your proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the side exterior main wall heights as shown on the north and south side elevation drawings attached to this report. Have you had an opportunity to read that report, sir?
Yes, I have, and we are 100% in agreement with that condition.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's pretty clear what you're asking for in these 2 variances. I'll just ask the committee if it has any comments or if it would like a presentation. There being none, sir, I just wanted to ask, is there anything you'd like to add that isn't contained in the material that the committee has before us today?
If you've read my cover letter, that pretty much explains everything. We had some neighbor concerns and councillor concerns, and we've addressed all of them. This is very reasonable and comparable to other approvals in the area. I mean, I do have a full presentation if you'd like, but in the interest of moving things along, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, thank you, sir. We've had no request for a presentation from committee, so if I could get a motion from committee on this application. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm taking the staff recommendations that this application be developed substantially in accordance with the side exterior main wall height as shown on the north and south side elevation drawings attached to this report. and I'll move that this application be approved with conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khan. Someone to second that? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Thank you kindly. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You too. Item number 36, 3 Dromore Crescent. I have one person registered to speak. Hong Lin Q. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, hello, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Hong Lin Chui, and my address is 10 Four Seasons Place, Toronto.
Okay, now, sir, I wanted to ask if you had, we have a request from Transportation Services that your application be deferred. Have you had, and this is in their report of January 19th.
Yeah.
They say they want additional supporting documents to clarify a label on the site plan, the width of the entire portion of the driveway and curb cut that is located within the public right-of-way, and a notation on the site plan that all portions of existing access driveways that are no longer required must be closed. That's a standard condition.
Right.
They were recommending deferral in order to update the site plan to show this. Did you want to defer your application, or did you want to proceed today?
Well, those comments are quite easy to comply with, so I would like to continue this hearing.
Okay, so what you're saying is you can comply with that requirement?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. So you don't need to defer?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, there's another report from City Planning dated the 16th of December. They have no objections, provided that your proposal is developed substantially in accordance with the north and south elevation drawings submitted to the committee and as attachments 1 and 2 to their report. You had an opportunity to review that report, sir?
Yes, sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pretty clear what you're asking for in the variances, sir. I'll just ask the committee if it requires a presentation or it has any questions. Okay, thank you. Sir, I wanted to ask, is there anything you'd like to add to tell the committee today, this afternoon, that isn't contained in the material the committee has before it?
Okay, what I want to add here is that for the city's forest report, we have talked with the owner, and we accept the comment from the urban forest to keep the tree in front of the house and reconfigure the driveway shape so that tree will be remain there.
You're not proposing to make any changes to any of the variances that the committee has before it today?
No.
Okay, thank you.
But we will keep that tree there to reconfigure our driveway shape. This is the latest one that I just said today. So this is what we are proposing now. So you can see the tree here is reserved, and then the driveway is extend to the curb as commented by transportation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does
Yeah.
the committee have any questions of the speaker? Pardon me? I'm sorry, Ms. Cota, I missed that. Oh, making it, it's changing it? Oh, can make it, okay. With respect to the driveway, sir, we could make the Transportation Services report essentially list them as conditions. We could make those as conditions.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll just ask the committee, does the committee have any questions of the speaker? No? Could I get a motion on this application, please? Just before I get a motion, just note though that the applicant has indicated his willingness to comply with transportation services conditions as contained in items number 1 and 2 on page 1 of their report. So those could be listed as conditions if the committee sees favor in it. Okay, so if I could get a motion on the application, please. Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel the proposed variances are minor and that they meet the 4 tests. For minor variance, I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to the planning staff report condition that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the north and south elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment on December the 3rd, 2020, and attached as attachment 1 and 2 to the planning staff report, subject to forestry condition and subject to the applicant receiving transportation services approval.
Okay, that would be satisfying conditions number 1 and 2 of their report of 19th of January.
That's correct.
And urban forestry. Okay. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar? All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to city planning, urban forestry, and transportation services conditions 1 and 2 in their report of January 19th, 2001.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Item number 37, 55 ANEWEN Drive. I have one person registered to speak. That is Marin Zabzuni. Are you there, sir?
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I have a report, 2 reports here, actually. One from Transportation Services dated the 19th of January, indicating they have no objection to your application. And we also have one from Planning dated the 18th of January, recommending refusing variance number 1 relating to the driveway width. So we have 2 conflicting recommendations here, and 2 conflicting comments. If you'd perhaps like to give the committee a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal, especially
yes, my name is
comments about the driveway.
Yeah. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway. So we were previously deferred from this application in order to work with Transportation Department. We had a lot of correspondence and revised the site plan, driveway, and walkway in order to comply with those requirements. So they no longer have any objections. And we essentially added a walkway in order to reduce the driveway width, which satisfied transportation. The existing curb cut has not changed, and the proposed driveway width is the same as the existing when not counting the walkway width. So the homeowners live with their elderly parents. They need that walkway in order to have accessibility from front towards the porch. They're adding also landscaping features to enhance curb appeal. There are existing homes with similar driveways in the areas. So I believe this is fitting in that neighborhood. And this is the only variance that we're asking for with landscaping as well, which come into effect. So we satisfied transportation comments, and we're back here after the deferral in order to request your approval.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask the gentleman to, touch upon this driveway width again. He did not clarify whether it is 8 feet or what.
The driveway width?
Yes, sir. Variance number 1.
Right. So I believe the zoning examiner is counting the walkway as part of the driveway. If you see at the curb cut, the driveway is at 5.13 meters in width, and then enlarges towards the house, essentially. So in order to reduce impact from the front, this was an approved condition even on the previous building permit. The difference here is the walkway that is next to the driveway. It's an interlock. It's different than the driveway finish. And that's what we've added and revised and worked with transportation for their support, which we've gained. So the actual driveway, the biggest span, not counting the walkway, is 6.59 meters. And that was, we had this on an approved permit but previously. So that hasn't changed. We only added the walkway next to it.
Okay, can I ask, sir, just to follow on Mr. Khan's question, is the walkway separated from the driveway by a curb?
No, it's interlocking. So the driveway is concrete and the walkway.
It's essentially part of the driveway. You can drive over it. Correct?
Yes, I suppose so.
Yeah, so
I believe
was
so,
up
yes.
there, I didn't see too many driveways that were 8 meters wide, including a walkway.
It's at the front, it's a lot less. It's only the 8 meter if you count the walkway towards the house. So it tapers out. And there are similar properties there. I took a drive there as well, and I've seen similar situations.
Granted, there are wide driveways, but I didn't see anything that was 8 meters wide, including the walkway. With respect, I didn't see that on the street.
Right.
Okay, anyway,
Okay.
I'll just, any further questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll take it into committee. Can I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I do want to acknowledge that there was an Anna Satsmary who had put in a letter of opposition, but a lot of it had to do with the design of neighborhoods in general, and that's not something we can comment on. So I just wanted to make sure that her voice was heard through this. Regardless, I'm putting forward a motion, and based on the responses of the applicant, I feel satisfied about this application. And so I'm going to motion to approve it. I do believe that it does meet the 4 tests, and I'm going to put it on condition of the January 18th staff report. Sorry. Let me remove that. I'm not going to make it subject. No, I'm not going to make it. Sorry, I thought it was a general condition. It's not. So I'm not making it subject to anything at this time, except for, there's not even forestry on this, actually.
There's no condition. Okay, thank you.
I move to approve.
Thank you. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion. Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Kidd, are you opposed? Yes. So we have a tie. We have a tie vote. Mr. Kidd, you were opposed?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm in for.
Oh, Mr. Khan, you're in favor?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, all right.
I'm opposed, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Everyone's in favor except for Mr. Kidd, who is opposed. So, sir, your application has been approved with Mr. Kidd dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have 42 KAPPELE Avenue is the next one. And I have 8 people registered to speak. The agent is Mr. Graham Barrett. Are you there, sir?
I am. Good afternoon again, committee and Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, before we start, I have 2 memos here, 2 reports, one from City Planning dated the 21st of January, recommending that the variance number 5 regarding front yard parking be refused, and the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the side exterior main wall heights as shown on the north side elevation drawing attached to their report. Transportation Services, again, 19th of January, has no objection, I guess, to the front yard parking application, provided the applicant adds a notation on the site plan the standard condition that you show all the drawings and curbs cuts that are going to be closed and all that other good stuff. Have you had an opportunity to read those two reports, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I'm just going to ask the committee, we have deputants registered to speak, sir. So Mr. Graham, if you could give us a presentation on your application, and then we'll take it back into hear from the deputants.
Sure, gladly. I sent in some supporting materials. If those could be put up on screen, I'd appreciate it. Great, if we can maybe just make those one per page, that'd be great. I can kind of go through this. So, yes, as mentioned, I'm Graham Barrett of 1575 Dundas Street West. I'm the agent for the owner of 42 Capel Avenue. The existing dwelling, you can see there on the second slide. This home was owned by the late Mr. and Mrs. Lomp, who were longtime residents of the neighborhood, and from what I'm told, pillars of their community. This property was before this committee back in October of 2019. At the time, the goal was to sever the lot and build 2 semi-detached homes. If you go to the next slide, you can see the previous proposal. This required several variances for each property, including some fairly significant numbers for density and overall height. The current owner, Mr. Lomp Jr., is the trustee for his late parents' estate, and it was their wish that this property be used to build residences for each of their 2 granddaughters, who are both married, and one of which has 2 children, and the other is planning on starting her own family. All 4 adults currently work from home, and it looks like they may end up doing so indefinitely, so home offices are needed. At the time, the severance seemed like the best option, but after discussions with planning staff and opposition from 3 close neighbors, it became clear that this wasn't feasible. So the consent and 1 minor variance was withdrawn, and the remaining minor variance application left active so that we could return to this committee with a proposal that worked for all. So the solution the owners and designers arrived at is a duplex, which is on the current slide. It is a permitted use in an R zone, and it will allow for both granddaughters and their families to live comfortably. Variances are required to build the proposed dwelling, but I think the key item here is really floor space index. Bylaw 569/2013 sets the maximum FSI at 0.6 times the area of the lot, which would allow for a dwelling of 255.45 meters squared, or approximately 2,740 square feet. Splitting this floor area in half to accommodate a duplex, which is again a permitted use, would mean 2 dwellings of less than 1,400 square feet each. This would not be sufficient to house a family with children. The proposed number for FSI is 0.847 times the area of the lot. This will allow for a duplex with total floor space of 360.56 meters squared, or just shy of 3,900 square feet, meaning approximately 1,950 square feet per unit and 4 bedrooms for each. Other variances being proposed include building depth. So I can just hold off on flipping those slides. I'll let you know when I'm ready to go to the next one. Thank you. So we have building depth. The maximum is 14 meters for a duplex. The proposed is 15.36, but the maximum for a single family dwelling is 17 meters. So we're somewhat limited by this requirement, and the designers kept this variance to a minimum. It's also measured from the required front yard setback, and the actual dwelling is 14.17 meters in length. Variances 3 and 4 for the height of all side exterior main walls facing a lot line. The max is 7.5. The walls on the north side will be 9.72, and the walls on the south side will be 8.48. Now, these variances are required to accommodate livable space on the 3rd floor and make this a viable duplex for 2 families. Also, the staff report notes the north side yard variance, north side main wall height variance is higher because it includes an architectural feature, so a 3rd-story window. And the vast majority of this sidewall is actually the same as the south side wall height at 8.48 meters. Variance number 5, a parking space may not be located in the front yard, and we would be proposing parking in the front yard. This is an existing condition. The space is simply being relocated and enlarged. If you look back at the photo of the existing dwelling on the 2nd slide, you'll see that existing driveway and parking space. It's being moved to the center of the lot, requiring a new curb cut, removal of 1 city tree, The designer has worked with urban forestry staff and has been informed that they have no objection, but this tree requires councillor approval to be removed, so we are waiting on that. And the owners are more than happy to plant replacement trees, ideally nicer shade trees, and accept any conditions from forestry. Variances 6 and 7, the required number of parking spaces is 2, proposed is 0. The property line essentially cuts the front yard in half, making it impossible to fit a legal parking space of 5.6 meters in length on the site. Hence, the following variance of number 7 to permit a parking space length of 5.3 meters. So half of this driveway is not being considered as parking area due to location of the lot line, but the proposed driveway will be more than capable of accommodating 2 vehicles. If you want to take a look at a surveyor site plan, you can see this. The lot line is down the middle of that front yard. Finally, maximum height under the old bylaw is 10 meters, proposed is 10.17. Again, this old bylaw is measured from average grade, whereas the height under the new bylaw is measured from established grade. The average grade in this case is slightly lower than established. The height from established grade will be 10 meters and doesn't require a variance under bylaw 569/2013. I can go to the next slide for the OP, or the, I believe it's slide number, there we go, thank you. This property is located in a neighborhood's land use designation, which includes duplexes.
Sir, can you
new
summarize,
development-
please?
Sure, I could. I've certainly got more to say. We have precedents if you want to look ahead. And also, so this is the neighboring dwelling to the south, 40 KAPPELE. It had a floor space index variance approved in 2011. It also had sidewall height variances approved that are greater than what is being proposed at 42 KAPPELE. The house 2 doors up at 46 KAPPELE was approved just last year at 0.79 times the area of the lot. So what we're proposing is certainly comparable in scale to other approvals in the area. This is FSI approvals within 500 meters of 42
Okay, sir,
KAPPELE.
thank you. Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is variance number 1. Your floor space index is very high than the allowable maximum. Why is it that? I mean, you have explained, but it doesn't suit my palate that I should give you a floor space index of 0.847 that high. You're breaking the zoning bylaws by far.
Okay,
Well,
sir,
again, sir, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Khan wanted justification on variance number 1 regarding the floor space index.
Sure. I mean, if you look at the spreadsheet that I provided of precedents of other comparable approvals nearby, 42 KAPPELE would be one of the higher ones, but there have been greater approvals in the immediate area and many that are close. The purpose of this is to accommodate a duplex, which, you know, being a permitted use in an R zone and then limited at a 0.6 density maximum makes it difficult to accommodate a duplex that can adequately house 2 families. I think under the circumstances, this construction would be suitable in the lot. At the north end of the street, we have multi-unit buildings. We have a very large home to the south, a new large home 2 doors up. It's basically required to house 2 families, and not only that, but this will create new housing in a city that's arguably facing a housing crisis and make better use of the land, providing accommodation for 2 families instead of just 1.
Okay, sir. Variance number 5, how do you justify parking in the front location when it is not allowed? It has to be the abutting street.
Well, there is parking in the front yard currently. You can take a look at that photo of the existing dwelling and see there currently is parking, which can fit about 2 cars. The recommendation to refuse the front yard parking from staff came as a bit of a surprise because the designer worked with them extensively before we resubmitted this proposal. As I mentioned, there's existing parking, it's being relocated. Front yard parking is the norm on this street. There's countless parking spaces in front yards along KAPPELE and in the area. This is not a ward where the moratorium on front yard parking pads applies. and we have no negative comments from Transportation Services. In addition, this driveway will be constructed with permeable pavers to improve drainage. So we believe the impact of this will be negligible. It's essentially the same situation as it is currently.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any further questions of the speaker? We'll move on to the next person, next deputant on our list. I have Janice Barnett. Are you there, madam? Miss Barnett, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, madam, but we're getting feedback. Do you have, just speak into your phone and turn off all your other devices that may be tuned into this hearing.
Okay, I'm only on my computer, so.
Okay, that's fine. We can hear you now. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Janice Barnett. I live at 40 Capel Avenue. And my husband is also here on this call, and we both represent the same address. So I'm going to defer to him to represent our opinions on this. His name is Terrence Scott.
Okay, thank you. Can I get your full name and address, sir? Hello? Hello? Ms. Barnett?
He's trying to speak, actually.
Well, okay. Is he? Madam, do you want to speak, or is he speaking for you?
Well, he's speaking on both our behalfs.
Okay, well, we'll hear your views first, then we'll go to him, okay?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that this presentation that was presented by Mr. Barrett was not available before the date with which letters of concern were supposed to be submitted. I'd also like to say that the file on this proposal does not seem to be open right now, so other neighbors that have opinions on this are not able to see any of the details. My concerns regarding the build itself surround one, whether or not there's been any analysis done by urban forestry, because at the back, in the backyard, there's a very large mature conifer that is within 3 feet of the lot line that belongs to the house north of 42 Capel. And the way the build is presented right now would involve significant damage to that tree through removal of significant portions of the canopy and also portions of the root. I also have concerns about the congestion that is going to result from approving two extra parking spots on the front lawn, and that will result in the removal of a parking spot on the street. And our little corner there is very congested. And so removal of more parking is just, it does not work with the neighborhood. Thirdly, this is a multi-residential dwelling that is completely and utterly out of context in our neighborhood, and there are no other examples of it. I believe that the supposed densification that Mr. Barrett refers to is not relevant to this build. Thank you.
Okay, madam, I just wanted to ask, you said that there was no other multi-residential units on your street. What's at the end of the north end of the street?
Sorry, yes, there are 3 purpose-built quadplexes.
Okay, I just wanted to
that have been there, I'm guessing, from the 1940s.
Okay.
However, with respect to duplexes and splitting lots, we do not have that in our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to any questions of the speaker. We'll go to the next person on the list. I have Mr. Terrence Scott. Are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and
Yes,
committee
Mr.
members.
Scott, if you'd
Thank
like
you
to
for-
give us your views on this application?
Yes, I think that the challenge with this proposal is the fact that they're trying to put two family residents on a lot that's less than 35 feet that's formerly accommodating one family residence. And that's why you have to stretch things like the height to get 3 stories, and you have to stretch the gross floor area or the FSI to 0.847. And I think that by virtue of the fact that the proposal involves, putting 2 homes where there's existing only one on a less than 35-foot square lot, is where you create the problem of all the other challenges. And then you get to parking. You're taking away a garage and a driveway and replacing it with the front yard being completely utilized for parking, which again takes away, as my wife mentioned earlier, a parking spot on the street. And if you've been through this area, sir, you'll know that there are no sidewalks in the street. The pedestrians must walk on the road. So now you're adding at least, typically, dwellings in this neighborhood are 2-car families. So now you're adding an additional 2 cars to this less than 35-foot lot, along with the existing 2 cars. And then you're going to try and squeeze in more street parking, and again, increasing the risk to pedestrians. And I think those 2 major challenges, the gross floor area or the FSI, and the parking on the front of the lawn, are what makes this project quite unpalatable for our neighborhood. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just wanted to make an observation I made when I was up there. Your street has no sidewalks, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Move on to the next speaker. I have Mr. Locke Rowe. Are you there? Mr. Rowe, are you there? Mr. Rowe, hello, are you there? Mr. Rowe, are you there? One more time, Mr. Rowe, and then I'll have to cut you off. Are you there, Mr. Rowe? I'll proceed to the next speaker. Eric Williams, are you there? Mr. Williams is not there. I'll try Mr. Rowe again. Mr. Rowe, are you there? I'll take him off the list. Mr. Jeffrey Kent, are you there? Mr. Jeffrey Kent is not there. Zachary Greenberg, are you there, sir? Mr. Greenberg?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, can I?
Yes, can you hear me?
Name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Zachary Greenberg, and I live at 47 KAPPELE.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm the owner at 47 KAPPELE, which is immediately across the street from 42. I object to the variances, and my primary concerns, which are strongly echoed among the group of objecting neighbors. I counted 12 letters of opposition. My concerns relate to 1, FSI, 2, the height of both the exterior and the exterior walls facing the side lot lines, and 3, parking. So I'd say that this proposal is unprecedented in terms of 1, the massing with an imposing and tall structure both from the street and the sides, and the lack of parking with the proposed double parking pad in front of the home. So the proposed duplex doesn't match the prevailing heights, massing, dwelling types, and size of homes in the immediate neighborhood. Regarding those 4 plexes at the end of the street, I think it's important to note that the 2 on the side are on triangular shaped lots. So these are not standard rectangular lots, which are found in the rest of the neighborhood. The applicant is clearly trying to push through their plans for maximum density. It seems without care for maintaining the character of the neighborhood or the prevailing zoning and existing conditions. The home's been vacant for about 3.5 years, with the lawn really only maintained because the neighbor who spoke earlier has been gardening and mowing the front yard so that it doesn't become overgrown and unsightly for the rest of us. I think, sorry, if I keep going down, in terms of the neighborhood, I did some of my own research and for purposes of this, I put together, or I grabbed this this map that you're looking at from a TLAB hearing that a planner put together for a house on Wanless, which is quite close by. And I think what's more appropriate though than the neighborhood study area they use is to really look at just the 6 streets that are immediately surrounding the Wanless Park. It's an appropriate area because it's unique from the broader 500-meter radius that the planner used for the applicant, in that it's east of the single access point to Wanless Park from the west. And within this area is where there are no sidewalks, which is again different than the areas north and to the west of this area. So the first variance which I object to is the FSI of 0.847, which, as mentioned earlier, is 41% over the bylaws. This is significantly out of context with the neighborhood. Further, if you scroll down to this table here, you'll see that this shows select variances approved for properties in the neighborhood, and again was extracted from that same TLAB hearing. It notes that on those 6 streets that I mentioned immediately surrounding the park, so KAPPELE, Wanless Avenue and Crescent, Brayside, Hazelmere, and Langton, there's only 2 homes out of approximately 160, or less than 2% in total, that exceed an FSI of 0.8. And the largest FSI granted in the past 6 years on KAPPELE Avenue on this street was at 0.79 at 46 KAPPELE, which is 2 doors north on that photo that you saw earlier, on a similar sized lot as this proposal. The applicant, if you'll scroll back to their supporting material on slide 10, so they've used a neighborhood study area with a 500-meter radius, which I believe includes approximately 1,000 homes. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in your rebuttal. I didn't have time to count them. So sorry, if you can scroll back to I guess Mr. Barrett's, yes, perfect. So this table shows that there's only 7 homes among those 1,000 so less than 1% with an FSI that exceed its proposal. Importantly though, I'd like to point out a few things among these 7 homes in particular. So first, only 1 of those 7 was approved in the last 7 years. 2 would be the first 2 homes at the top on Brayside. They both contain a natural ravine feature with a steep
Sir, you
slope
have
at the
30
rear.
seconds. Can you summarize?
Sure. So the first 2 homes on Brayside, the developable area of those lots caused their FSI to exceed 0.6 by material number. But if you use the whole lot, they are more in line with the neighborhood. 3 of the next 5 homes are located on corners, so less of an impact on the surrounding neighborhood. Keep going to, I guess, the sidewalls. There's only 2 variances in the entire neighborhood.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the last speaker on the list. I have a Margaret Bodden. Are you there, madam?
Yes, I am.
Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Margaret Bodden. I live at 16 Brayside Road. 16 Brayside Road is on the northeast corner of Brayside and KAPPELE, and I am directly across from the home at 42 KAPPELE.
If you could give us your thoughts on the application.
Yes. So I'm objecting to this application on the basis of the square footage, the height, and the parking. The FSI that's being requested, as noted by the previous speaker, is dramatically out of proportion with other houses in the neighborhood. At 40%, it exceeds what was approved recently at 46 KAPPELE by almost 10% more. And I'm supportive in development of this particular site, but and I did not object to the requests for 46 KAPPELE, but this is substantially more than that. From a height point of view, the numbers also are very high versus what's permitted. But what concerns me the most is the parking situation. If you're going to put this right now, there is an existing parking spot, but it's it's a driveway that you can park 2 cars in, one after the other. It's not 2 cars side by side. This street has, over the years, had my lot on the corner was severed and another house was built in the back. So that added a curb cut and brought 2 more cars to the street with another residence on a very short block, because it's effectively a dead end if you look at the map. I'm not sure why you're showing that picture. If you could show a picture of the neighborhood, and you could see that it's a dead end. And also there's now a basement apartment in one of those 4plexes. So that has brought 2 more cars that park on the street because there's no parking provided for those. Whenever there are tenants in those buildings that have a second family car, which often happens, those cars park on the street. There are no sidewalks. If you add another curb cut or widen the curb cut, which is what it appears to be on the drawings, that the curb cut is actually wider than the existing one, you effectively remove a parking space and bring in at least 2 more cars. And with no sidewalks, particularly in the winter where there's nowhere to put the snow, it's just absolutely treacherous. And I'm out walking my dog several times a day, and I use the access from KAPPELE to and from my house. It's my predominant access. And, it can be just crazy at times. So that is overwhelmingly, aside from the FSI, my concern with this particular proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Is there any questions of the speaker? We have one more speaker, Mr. Clapp. Do we know who that is?
We have a Leanne Furlong that wishes to speak.
Okay, Ms. Furlong, are you there?
I am. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. My full name is Leanne with an I, Furlong, and I live at 131 Ronan Avenue.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you so much. My 2 next door neighbors, Mr. Kent and Mr. Williams, were called. I'm not sure. I know they're on hold waiting, so I'll speak on behalf of all 3 of us. We are the 3 properties where our backyards touch the backyard of the property in question. I've lived at this home since 2011. This is the first time I've ever spoken up to have my views heard. The reason is this 3-story duplex in no way conforms with the character of the surrounding single-family neighborhood. The requested variants are certainly not minor. I do, however, appreciate the agent telling us the backstory, and while it is heartwarming, we all have a story, and so this is mine. First, I'll speak to you from the point of view of a mother, and I do that first because this neighborhood is all about families with young children, and in particular, the focus point being Wanless Park and all the child-focused community activities. The parking spaces create a serious safety concern. There's no parking spaces allocated for this project, and the bylaw requires it. What is going to happen as a result is that there'll be increased congestion, street parking pressures, and we already have that, and increased danger for the neighborhood children. The city seems to recognize this vehicle pedestrian accident risk because they recently narrowed the intersection at Wanless Avenue and KAPPELE. This is a recognition of the dangerous vehicular traffic in the area. I should also say on the parking pad front, it is shorter than what is required. And of course, drivers backing up out of front pads also creates danger to children in the neighborhood. Those are my comments on item 5, 6, and 7. Now, from the perspective of a homeowner, items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. To my mind before today, and when I did see those photos and I heard the backstory for the first time, I still feel this comment is relevant. This application lends itself for a duplex for profit purposes. So right now we're hearing about a family moving in to what in essence is 2 4-bedroom homes, but you don't know what the future holds and what if they sell. And if you're going to build for-profit developments in a low-rise single-family neighborhood, you need to make sure it doesn't compromise the integrity of the surrounding neighborhood. So the elephant in the room is the FSI is 41% larger. And the reality is that they couldn't fit 2 dwellings side by side, so they went up. And so the proposed maximum height of the property on the north side is 29.6% higher than is permitted, and on the south side, 13% higher. Those are not small numbers. What's being built is an imposing structure. And what it does for me and my neighbors is it affects our privacy and our enjoyment of our private property. And the reality is that this, what I'm looking at right now, I too am working from my bedroom. I'm looking at trees and a bungalow. And what's happening here is an 8-bedroom house being built. And that's what we're going to be looking at. It is seriously, seriously excessive. It's going to compromise our privacy, our enjoyment, create safety issues, sightline issues, and precedents. It's a precedent now, if this goes through, that you can build 3-story multi-residential development for profit and subdivide lots. And the big thing here for me as well is it really affects my value of my property. So my last point is the perspective. You've heard the perspective of the parent and the homeowner. What about the tree? I mean, beautiful picture by the agent of a tree that certainly took decades to grow, a beautiful evergreen, and we're just going to cut it down to build an 8-bedroom house that's going to have 4 cars and going to create all these problems for our neighbors. I am really, really asking you to consider this on behalf of myself, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Kent, my next door neighbors. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Being none, we'll go back to Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett, are you there? Yes, you've heard the comments from the previous speakers.
I had a question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barrett? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Khan, I'm sorry.
Sir, thank you. I wanted to speak to this lady who raised so many questions.
Was that Ms. Furlong? Mr. Khan, is that Ms. Furlong, the lady who was up last?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Furlong,
So-
are you still there?
I am.
Okay, we have some
Madam-
questions for you from Mr. Khan.
Sure thing.
Madam, thank you for raising the question. I mean, the concern that you have, I have the same concern. But for your information, I have to tell you, you raised variance number 5, 6, and 7 in your explanation. But I have to tell you that Transport Services has okayed those 5, 6, and 7 variances. So we have to go by that too, or keep those recommendation in consideration. I have a concern, but it has been okayed by the experts of Transport Services. So what can I do?
Mr. Khan, do you have a question?
It is
Was there
just
a
by way of
question?
information to the lady that.
Okay, no, I
Transport
need
Services.
a question, not a comment. Is there a question? Okay, thank you.
No, there's no question, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
Mr.
there we
Barrett,
go.
you've
Yes,
heard-
I am, sir.
You've heard the comments from the previous speakers. Can you address some of their concerns?
Sure, gladly. I was somewhat surprised to see all these letters of opposition come in on January 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I made a concentrated effort to engage with area residents and discuss the revised proposal. I personally dropped off letters at 15 homes on KAPPELE Avenue and Brayside in October of 2020. The list is on the last slide of my presentation, and none replied to me. The owner spoke with 2 of the neighbors, 40 KAPPELE and 16 Brayside personally. The owner of 16 Brayside indicated that she remained opposed to the proposal for essentially the same reasons that she was against the original application of a severance. And the owners of 40 KAPPELE indicated they wouldn't support anything other than a single family dwelling, despite the fact that a duplex is a permitted use in the zone. So we were at an impasse there. As for the new letters of opposition and some of the speakers, I mean, several of these people, I attempted to contact them. Letters were left in their mailboxes. So we certainly made an effort to speak to them about the revision, and not having the opportunity to talk to them clearly was a problem. Also, 3 of them are from Ronan Avenue, 1 street over. And I think the impact of this on them is less substantial. And I only wish that they'd voiced their concerns to the original proposal for the severance and the 2 semis, so that a conversation could have been had rather than these 11th hour submissions when it's too late to really have a conversation about it. It's also important to note this application has been ongoing since 2019, and the financial burden on this family is not unsubstantial. So to go through some of the comments raised by the neighbors, the first speaker at 40 KAPPELE, Janice, I did submit this presentation on the submission date for supporting materials, so it was available on the city's AIC website. It is accessible. She brings up trees in the back. There are trees in the back, but they will be protected. Adequate tree protection zones can be provided. Concerns about traffic, as Mr. Khan noted, there are no concerns from transportation services. Again, same with the removal of parking. Transportation services has no issue with that. I'm more concerns about multi-residential units, duplexes. Duplex is a permitted use. There is multi-residential uses on this street already. Many of the other comments echo the same concerns about a duplex or about height when we essentially comply with the new bylaw, and the sidewall height is somewhat technical in nature and less actually than what was approved at 40 KAPPELE in 2011. As for a few who weren't there, then there was Mr. Greenberg at 47 KAPPELE, again, another home that I dropped a letter at explaining the revised proposal and offering to chat, and I never heard anything back. He was curious about how many properties we looked at in that 500-meter radius, and it was 265 Committee of Adjustment approvals. As for the number of homes in that area, I'm not exactly sure. He also brought up the massing and the character of the area, and I think all you have to do is look to next door at 40 KAPPELE to see something that arguably doesn't fit the character of the area, and thus begs the question, what is the character of the area? Sometimes there will be a departure from homes that were built decades ago, and I think the proposed design is quite tasteful and suitable and sympathetic to the rest of the area. It's not a big box. It's not modern. It's fairly reasonable in my opinion. Concerns from 16 Brayside, again, parking. There were no concerns from transportation. And the final speaker, again, from Ronan Avenue, where there was no opposition to a larger proposal with greater variances the first time around. So it would have been great to have a conversation with them at that point. I'm wondering why a duplex is more offensive than a severance in 2 semi-detached homes. She brings up family and children and safety. As I mentioned, both the families who will be living there, one has 2 young children, one is planning on having a family. They will be looking forward to living in this area and enjoying it as a family. I don't believe there's any real concerns about safety, otherwise transportation would have said something. We are providing parking. And speculation about whether or not this is for profit or what's going to happen in the future is somewhat irrelevant. I mean, the goal of the original owner is to provide housing for his granddaughters. I can't predict what will happen down the line, but that is what the intended use of this property is.
Sir, can you summarize, please?
I believe that sums it up. I think this revised proposal, we've worked closely with planning staff to come to a conclusion that works. They're of the opinion that it passes the 4 tests. I think the parking situation is, again, just an existing condition with no opposition from transportation. I believe this passes the 4 tests, and I thank you very much for your time, and I thank the neighbors for their input.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was a difficult application. My main concern is with the floor space index being so high, but I think that what appears to be quite in excess of what you might like in that area. This is not for a single family monster home. It's a building to house two families. So in that sense, I think the high floor space index is mitigated somewhat. With regard to the parking, the revised the transportation report seems to be satisfied with the parking situation. I'm going to put forward a motion to accept the application, subject to the planning staff report dated January the 21st. Subject to the approval that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the east side exterior main wall height as shown on the north side elevation drawing attached to the planning report, and subject to forestry conditions.
There's also the transportation services report. They had the recommended condition of putting in the standard condition of indicating that existing site driveways have to be closed. So we have those three from transportation services, planning, and forestry. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd. All those in favor? Oh, can someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, we have a tie. I've had the opportunity to take a look at this particular property, and I have concerns with the fact that the property with respect to the front yard parking, and in view of the fact that there's already an apartment building at the north end of the street that's already created nothing but asphalt in the front yard. I think another proposal that creates nothing but front yard in the nothing but front concrete in the front yard is probably not something we'd like to see desirable. So I cannot support that motion. So if I could have another motion to refuse the application. That motion loses. If I could get another motion. Mr. Hunt? We can't hear you.
Say that again. Say that again, please.
We can't hear Mr. Hunt. Mr. Khan, would you like to make a motion?
Sir, I will make the same motion which was moved by Ron Hunt.
So would you like to refuse the application? Okay.
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. Mr. Hunt, we can't hear you. Okay. We had a motion to approve. We had a motion to approve. That didn't go because Mr. Hunt and Mr. Khan wouldn't support it, and it was a tie, and I wouldn't support a motion to approve. So we need another motion, which obviously would be a motion to refuse. Well, it could be a motion to refuse.
It could also be a motion to amend some of the variances.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move the motion then.
Okay, Mr. Khan, what are you proposing?
Sir, I'm proposing that this is not a minor, variance number 1 is floor space index is very high. And also it has been recommended variance number 5, front yard parking, which is not allowed and has been also suggested by the staff. So on that basis, I would like to move that this application be refused. It is not a minor variance, which is not suitable development, and proposal doesn't meet zoning bylaws as well as official plan.
Okay, so
therefore,
Mr. Khan, you're making a motion to refuse the application?
Yes, sir.
Okay, someone to second that motion? Opposed? Pardon? We have a motion from Mr. Khan to approve. Someone to second that, to refuse. Someone to second that motion. Mr. Hunt seconds the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? We have a tie vote, and I will support Mr. Khan's motion to refuse. So this application is refused. Sorry for the headache. Thank you, folks. We're now on.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 38 has been refused, 42 Capel Avenue. Now on item number 39, 24 Shoal Dice Court. I have two people registered to speak.